Voidwalkers. Welcome
Hello,
back once
hello.
again. I am
Here.
Dave.
And I'm Liz.
And we are the
The Confabulate.
Confabulators. Once
We were
again,
so close.
I thought you were going to follow with me in that, just like
I was
roll
like,
into
is
it.
he queuing? And we
You
think
know what?
alike in so many ways, and then there are points where it's like, nope.
Sometimes that's all it's going to be. But that's
It
okay.
is. It's our thing.
It is. It
It's
is.
our
And
thing.
the day that we get it correct, we're going to pop a bottle of champagne event sometime later down the road and be like, we did it. Woo!
We did it. Celebration.
Oh, yeah.
Whee!
Fantastic. Uh,
All right. So now to recap a little bit, because last episode we what was not planned as a two-parter has become a two-parter. So last episode we were chatting about the movies X and Pearl of the X Trilogy. So then what are we chatting now about today?
we are chatting about the third of that trilogy, Maxine. So maximum that there's three X's.
Yup.
Uh,
Maximum Maxine.
and you can tell it by the by the poster. I almost said by the cover, like it's a book. You can tell it by the poster and her pose, like how she holds it like that. Just like, damn,
Yeah.
she's got it.
Yeah, what I realized, like looking back at it, it was like, oh yeah, they got that pose from from the end of the film, and I love it. I love it. It's
Yep.
such a great way to like just cherry on top, icing on the cake. This is kind of her big climax.
Yep.
So
Her maximum Maxine-ness.
yes, yes. We will preface, folks, spoilers. So
Mm-hmm.
if you do not want Maxine spoiled, would recommend waiting until after you've watched it to then come and listen, because this is going to be no holds barred.
Which is fair because Maxine came out in 2024. The others were a
So
couple years before that,
exactly.
so
So,
there's less
you know,
chance that somebody might have seen Maxine.
exactly.
Um,
So if you would like to see it without spoilers, come back to this after you have done so.
yeah.
We won't take it personally.
So Maxine,
Oh,
golly, we have gone from from 1979 to 1985, baby.
hmm And
L-
from middle of podunk nowhere, rural Texas, to pretty
Straight
much
up,
heart of Los Angeles.
yep,
We're in
straight up
Hollywood, baby.
L.A. I gotta say, like Maxine takes to being a full on city gal. Like
She really does.
that was her rhythm right there. All she needed was a way in, and like that's her.
The
And I don't,
confidence with how she carries herself through the city is so, like, yeah, you know what you're doing.
yeah, she's fully switched on. Which, in contrast to Pearl, I don't think Pearl could have handled it.
Yeah. I
I
think Pearl would have been overwhelmed by it.
Yeah, I think she would have panicked and like started going on a murder spree, and it would just end real badly.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas Maxine, I mean, they even show you early on when, the the Walk of Fame performers, and my gosh, it's such a moment. What was it in the beginning, early in the film, when when Buster Keaton tries to stalk her,
hmm to
and
to clarify, just real quick before we mention more about that Buster Keaton guy, this is the same time of the Night Stalker, Richard
yes,
Ramirez. So
yeah,
that whole thing is going around town. So the town feels really hot. Like I would describe it in the sense of temperature. Like it feels really hot, which fits LA because it's a desert area, desert biome. Even
hmm,
though it's urban,
yeah,
and like everybody's on edge already because of the Night Stalker, especially
yeah.
women.
And he was
Which
active 84, April 84, until he was caught in August of 85. So, and this is
yeah,
this is 80, this is late 85. Because I
Yeah.
believe at the end of the film it's mentioned in like a news report if the Night Stalker's been caught. So this is
Yeah.
happening, I want to say, like a few months before.
Yeah. This is like the tail end of Ramirez's Reign of Terror.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and he really was a reign of terror just in terms of like I was looking up a little bit about him and it's just like wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Real massive piece of shit. To put it politely.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Such a piece of shit that his capture was aided by citizens helping
Hmm.
capture him. And it's just like, yeah, you know you done fucked up when the people said, fuck you, we're going to chase you down because we just found you.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the big things that helped aid in him actually being caught was it wasn't just, oh, he was tracked down and caught by police. It's like, no, it's notable that local citizens spotted, like, chased him down.
Yeah.
So, this is a
But
time of tension and fear. I almost think of it like I don't know how it was like the closest I can think of in my life experience to being kind of an equivalent level of tension that was the Night Stalker. And this maybe is more specific to my experience growing up because of where I grew up was the DC Sniper back in the
mhm.
early 2000s. And that's because I mean I my family we lived about 13 miles outside of DC and the Sniper was active Maryland and Northern Virginia and DC area. And so it was not nearly drawn out like for as long as like the Night Stalker was, but the extra layer of tension we lived with, like we would go to school, I would go to school, and I was in a small private school that the campus I was in a shopping center, and because they had a few spaces in the shopping center, but it meant that for the middle schoolers to change classes, there were a few classes where we actually had to go outside of the space we were in and go in like 6 units over to like another space in the shopping center, and we would always change classes, which walk out front of the building, this and then go into the next one. So it was like a normal thing to walk past like the nail salon ladies on their smoke breaks.
Yeah.
It was just a normal thing, but when the DC Sniper happened, they were really adamant. Like they moved us all to changing classes, so we were going around the back of the shopping center, and we were going out the back doors and coming in the back doors. So, which also meant we had to bang on the door to get let in because, those doors locked automatically.
Yeah.
So, but it's the closest I can think of an experience to the kind of tension that you hear about with the Night Stalker. And even then, it's still not on the same level because this was a man who was going in and murdering people, whereas the Sniper was more distant, it's more removed, you just were paranoid every time you saw a white cargo van.
It's
Yeah.
also kind of interesting, with, like, Dave, I don't know where you were living at the time, but, so, Liz, you were in Nova, Central Virginia at that time, and it's like, even down in, like, the Metro Richmond area, like, as far as I know, Malvo, and I always forget his protege who was with him. But like I don't think they ever came down this way, but even down here it was like there was that palpable sense of dread because of that aspect of them like being on the move, going up and down like I think they were going up and down 95 at the time, weren't they?
I believe, I think, I can't actually
When
remember. It's been a long time.
when did this happen?
This was early 2000s.
Yeah,
Early
I
thousands.
remember being late
Yeah,
middle
it was
school,
after,
early high school.
it was about, um, I think it was 9/11 was 2001, right?
Yep.
I believe it was later I know,
Okay, I
hey,
found it.
it's been 20 some odd years.
Never
It's
never
it's been
forget.
23 years.
Never forget.
You know what? I have 9/11 down. Shush.
Okay, I got the date. I got
Priority.
the
I had 9/11 down. What was it?
date.
Because it was the same year,
They
I think.
started October 2nd, 2002.
Okay.
Okay.
So it was,
I
yeah,
was
because I was
still-
still in middle.
I was in Houston.
Okay. Yeah, and see, I was in middle school, and that's the reason I kind of like, I went to this, I was in the same middle school, but because of the way, just it was a small private school, so it felt very, what felt very hotbed about it for us where we lived and everything was because I lived so close to DC, so like, a year before 9/11 happened when I was in school.
Mhm.
And, like, it made everything feel that much closer because for us, 9/11, I think for the Nova and Maryland, D.C. area especially, it was you just felt the tension because you were that much closer to everything,
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
you
Yeah,
know?
we think. I mean, we remember them as the DC sniper attacks, but you want to know one of the fucked up parts? They didn't start in
What was
DC.
that?
No, it didn't.
Malvo started
No.
his killings all the way in Tacoma and was killing cross
Yeah.
country.
Yeah. No, it didn't. It
That
didn't specifically start in DC, but it was the kind of it was around that whole metropolitan area that has been growing and growing and growing over the years.
Yeah.
Because when I was a kid, DC area was considered a lot smaller, and the way I would joke with people, the way you could tell it was how our traffic reports go, because the major traffic radio station in the DC area started doing the reports further and further out. Like I remember my parents being like, well, before I left that area, being like one time, like in like the teens, like I want to say like around 2015, my mother being like, yeah, it used to be nobody ever talked about Haymarket, Virginia on the traffic reports, and now it's normal. And that was getting way further out from the DC area, but it was because in terms of the area they need people, where people were coming from, commuting from, was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, to where it was just like you were going well into Maryland and Virginia to cover
yeah.
to is what was considered DC area. I mean, it almost stretched all the way to Richmond by the time, I was in college, as
Yeah.
far as what was factored. So
I think for me,
that was
like I think
But
it's. Oh, sorry, Dave, you go.
oh no, you're fine. You're fine.
Mhm.
But to kind of steer us back,
yeah.
I know that each of the movies has kind of their own theme and their own feel. Pearl, we just talked about, has kind of that homey, like Disney-esque kind of uh thing to it, basic like war bond, support your troops kind of dealy.
Oh yeah,
And
it's the old
then
timey movie feel to it.
yeah, and then X has that Texas Chainsaw Massacre classic kind of feel to it, even though there's no chainsaws. Um,
Surprisingly.
yeah, surprisingly. But and then Maxine is probably my favorite, because it's more of a murder mystery thriller type of thing. In
It
fact,
is.
it is very giallo. Are you familiar with that
I am
specific
not.
genre?
No.
So it's an Italian cinema kind of thing. It's kind of like there's a pulpiness to it, crime pulp. There's like murder mystery with like horror kind of elements to it. You never really like see the killer until like the final act. Usually
Hmm.
the little bits that you see of them, they'll have black leather gloves,
Oh, and
and
this definitely did
you'll
that.
you'll hear the leather of it, just the creakiness of it and whatnot, right?
And this
There's a lot
definitely
of
did exactly that with the killer.
yeah, there's a lot of like full on wearing black and all that stuff, to keep them a mystery. There's like elements of film noir in them. Not necessarily the black and white shadows kind of thing, though that can be part of it, right? Because we see in Maxine, there's color, and they utilize those colors very well, very
They
prominently.
do. They
But
do.
but even then, like a lot of those things kind of uh, have Jala elements where they take in things like the psychological and like the stalking. You don't know who it could be or where they're coming from, right? And a
Hmm.
lot of the characteristics from Giallo found its way into American slashers.
Yeah.
And we've seen that kind of stuff in some American slashers. For example, the classic Black Christmas, right?
Mm.
Um, or the first, I guess I would call it Elements in this case, but the first Friday the 13th. We don't know
Mm-hmm.
who it is that's killing the counselors and stuff, but
Yeah.
it's got that kind of sort of Giallo-esque feel that we don't know who it is until the very end, the final act, the person's revealed and stuff.
It's a little bit of you almost get from the killer's perspective, but it's like just a little bit over their shoulder for you to know there's something there, but we can't quite. You're trying to put together pieces based off the little bit. It's like somebody put a camera like right here on their shoulder, so you
Hmm.
know you're seeing things from the angle of the killer,
Yeah.
but you don't have quite enough information to
And,
identify it, so you get that tension too of something's coming.
yeah. And with Giallo, there's also a lot of stalking of women specifically, right?
Hmm.
Um, which I think is also why they chose that year and
Yeah,
location for the Night Stalker,
it was
is
a very
because it kind of helps to veil who the killer is by making you think that it could be Ramirez,
yeah.
who's doing the killings and is also stalking Maxine. And
It
then
also sets up that tension and the empowerment kind of the themes like we saw in X of empowerment. It helps set up that tension for what is the experience of Maxine as a woman in a
yeah,
big city, um, when women have been targeted.
yeah,
You know,
and there's a lot of exploration of certain types of like sexuality within Giallo as well that
yeah.
is found.
Hmm.
So it's a very odd slash interesting blend of these topics,
Yeah.
and
No, I
a
agree.
great example of it, Maxine.
Very much so. Now, when we start the film, we first meet Maxine, like, yeah, they basically flash. It's 1985. It's interesting to me that they make sure that as a viewer, you're kind of very early on given context of LA. So not just the Night Stalker, but also this is happening with massive protests on the edge of these major lots, basically, um, satanic panic
Yep.
of highly conservative religious groups and evangelical groups saying that Hollywood is corrupting our children, and they keep and you see more of a little bit more of the footage that we saw of like similar footage to what we saw in the first film of who we now know is Maxine's father, you know, preaching against all of this and being they've corrupted my little girl. So it's very
Yep.
also setting up they give us right away, they give you as an audience a reminder of this is the world this is, and here's Maxine going to an audition. She's now a blonde.
Hmm.
What fascinates me watching it a second time was the way, yes, it's been 6 years, but it's more like her entire image has aged up. Whereas when we first saw her, she was kind of, even outside of filming in X, when she was just going around, she was very childlike. She had the brown hair, the sort of bright, sort of childish eyeshadow almost.
Hmm.
And then even the character she was playing. The Maxine we meet at the beginning of this, she is not that. She's like taking Bobby Lynn's look, but taking it even further, where she's just like, it's the blonde hair, the dark eyes, you know, the more sultry clothing,
Yeah.
you know, and then walking into this massive warehouse for an audition. So she is still aspiring to be a star,
Yep.
which
And she nails it.
that was so. I liked that. I also found it very, I don't, the way they handled it, I thought was very amusing because it's like, okay, she's auditioning for a movie. And then just like the tail end of the audition, they go through all this really powerful stuff and then show us your breasts.
Yep.
And the
And
way they dealt with that, because they don't, it's not like you see anything as the viewer, but just that it very much how confident Maxine is, because there's no question. She's just like, boom.
yeah, and it has nothing to do with the fact that before this audition, she's been an adult performer ever since she escaped from Texas and made her
Yeah.
way to LA.
Yeah.
Um, and that's been kind of her background, is like she's gotten experience in adult acting, as in pornography.
Yeah.
And because of the comfort that we've seen of her before, even though she's like younger and stuff like that in X, she still has that confidence in herself and who she is and her body to an
And there's a real
extent.
and there's a real ownership that's even evolved into a stronger ownership. Like there's now, you know, she owned it in X, and now we look like we come to her now, and she's very confident.
Yeah, which that was where I was going with it. Is now in LA, it's kind of accentuated that even further,
Yeah.
which makes me think that her performances, she might have started off as like in one or two spots where she was just like, that I don't even know where they would put it in adult films, like newer performers, if they would put them in like the middle or at the end or whatever. Probably somewhere in the middle, because usually people are probably watching the first or last scenes.
Hmm.
Um, but she must have done something to particularly stand out.
Yeah.
And she took ownership of that, and the director, whoever it was, saw her and was like, I want you as like the star for the next film that I'm doing, and
Yeah.
kind of snowballed from there, right?
You get the impression that for what it's worth, she's been successful. Like she's, like when they show her apartment later, and yes, this is Los Angeles in the 80s, but it's still Los Angeles. It's not a cheap, life. And yes, we do see that she doesn't just work in this one place, that she does some other work too at that, like, sort of like, I forget what you'd call them, peep show, quarter peep show, whatever,
Yep.
private show thing. So she does other work, but there is definitely, she's in a community
Yeah.
of other performers, and she's been successful enough that she has her own place, you know, she's getting by. And she's getting
Yes.
by, maybe not wealth comfort, but, you know, she's got what a lot of people would like to at least have when they come to LA, which is to be able to say, I live in a place that's, I have what I need.
She's got like she's doing better than well, or
Yeah.
making it by, like, after she like comes out, and I think I talked about this in the last episode. She goes down that line of the other actors and she says, y'all may as well go home because I fucking nailed it, right?
Yeah,
And she
she's so
hops,
confident.
yep, she hops right into her convertible, I think it is, with
Which, by the way, the
her name.
plates.
Yep, that is the title right there. And they do it really well. It's like, not only is this the title, bam, her license plate, Maxine with three X's, but it speaks to how confident she is, and it speaks to how, like, it speaks to LA, it speaks to the effects LA's had on her, it speaks to how much it's amplified who she is deep down,
Hmm.
and it speaks to like how successful she is and how she, like, I don't want to just say eats it up, because that sounds
Well, she's
it sounds like
ambition.
really greedy.
It's more
Ambitious.
she's very ambitious, and she's
It,
driven. She's
I,
very driven.
yes, and I think that ambition and drive, I think you can kind of see how some of that might teeter a little bit to a negative, but I think overall it's a positive for
I have
Yeah.
a
her,
question for you
Yeah.
right?
about
Like,
that. So
yes.
last week when we talked about Pearl, you guys noted that
Mhm.
that Pearl does the exact same thing in her audition too, doesn't she? That
um
like
she does, you mean like
like the
takes it, owns it?
not quite
She
the
put
owns it part, but like I remember you guys talking about her like kind of flaunting her confidence before it kind of falls apart on her
Mhm.
Pearls,
when
I
leave.
think.
Oh, you go ahead.
I would say Pearls. I think with that, this is where we see some distinct differences. Is
Mhm.
that Pearl still goes in, I think, with a measure of anxiety. For her, her audition is her escape, so it's almost a
Yes,
desperation to it. And
I
she
agree.
also thinks she is, but they also never really show the audience what actually happens in the audition. We see like the very first like four beats of her dancing, and then what we see after is more Pearl's kind of what her headspace is running away with. which always has led me to kind of question, because there's such a desperation to her of, and sort of a, she's come to believe what maybe a few, what the men who've admired her have said, that I have to wonder, was she actually that good? And then when they tell her no, she's more desperately saying, I'm a star. Because she's also getting her reality crashing down on her.
I completely agree with that. I think that we see the beginning of it, which feels to me like she took that from like the flicks that she saw, and then we see inside her head what she thinks she's doing. We never see it from the perspective of the judges. It's always on Pearl's perspective, which is why her colors and her dress stick out so profusely versus even the background dancers who are in dull, desaturated, like greens and grays. The background is also desaturated. It's all about her. It's all about like her, as well as like her desperation, like you say, because we see that buildup of desperation all throughout the film of her trying to get away from this world that she's in, for good or ill. And the moment that they say, no, we're looking for someone more blonde, someone who's got that X factor, specifically.
Yes.
Then we cut to her wailing louder than anybody has ever wailed in their life. Whereas with Maxine, I think she's probably had like auditions when she first got to LA where they're like, I don't know, or she doesn't get a call back or whatever, which is typical, especially if like you're new there, unless you're like somebody who looks so specifically distinct and like you just kind of like stumble into like the right role at the right time with the right person who's looking for you, right? Which is very rare to happen. You're going to be like going through auditions and you're going to be seeing lots and lots of people who look just like you. And we see that in Maxine. We see that in the beginning.
That's a bunch of other blonde girls sitting outside
with similar looks.
Yeah.
That's what happens. If you get an agent and a manager and you're going around and you're trying to get auditions that you hear about, they're looking for a guy in his like late 30s, early 40s who's kind of big, both in height and in size, right? Looks a little bit like somebody who's, kind of friendly, kind of soft, whatever. And I go, right? And I'm there. There's going to be a lot of dudes who look just like me or very close to me who are there for the same audition, for the same part. So I have to go in and I have to show the casting director that I am unique, that whatever choices I make in my audition, if it's not a monologue, or if it is a monologue, like whatever choices I make those specific choices for a very specific reason, and that I can do the work better than all those other guys back there. That's the only way I'm getting cast, and that's a maybe even. Right?
Yeah. And I would say Maxine almost, her confidence almost borders on arrogance, but because she's very much, and I feel like she's learned this, like she already had confidence before, but now more so since leaving Texas, coming to LA, she has really learned to just exude, like she has really learned to own herself. And she exudes a confidence, but it does, and we get it throughout the film, especially. I love the dynamic between her and the director, the other woman. I can't remember her name, but I love that dynamic because that woman comes from being much more seasoned. You find out from other characters she can be very difficult, and she calls Maxine out more than once, and very much in at points of kind of acknowledging of, you're good, but don't burn your bridges.
Yeah.
And she calls her out a little bit, like kind of calls her out. She puts Maxine in her place, because what we find out, Maxine did get the part. This is a big deal because this is her chance to break out of porn. This is going to be, it's still like a slasher horror film, which is hilarious to me because what's it part of? A slasher horror film. But it's still like, this is her first break outside of adult film industry. And, she's confident, but but there's an element of she's still the inexperienced one.
Yeah.
She's still the person who, and that they kind of acknowledge, like, okay, but this is a different world you're in now. And you're good, but you still have to prove to us that you have the right to be here. And that her response is, okay, I will.
Yeah. She
And I think
doesn't
that's
mess
the
around.
difference. And I think
Yeah.
it's that element of she recognizes that she still has to work to be there. And I think that's the big thing that they right away set apart is she could have been Pearl. And Pearl
Yeah.
saw herself in Maxine. What we find out through Pearl, though, is she never really that wasn't who Maxine was. Maxine has taken all the shit she gets dealt with, and she takes it and goes, I'm going to turn around and own who I am. And I
Yeah.
think that's kind of how she's coped with breaking out, with getting out. She even, I mean, it's not that she hides her identity, but she's clearly separated herself. Like, she goes by Maxine, but now she uses, all around LA, she uses a stage name, Maxine Minx.
Yeah.
Alliteration too.
Um,
And so she creates an identity that she can exist with.
well, and it's also kind of your typical porn name,
It is very
Um,
typical porn name, but you notice that she keeps that name. Even it's not like she never denies that that's what she does.
It's brand recognition.
It also
Yeah.
separates
Like, she's
her from
really
her family.
smart. Yes, that too. It separates her from her thing. Very good, E. Thank you.
Yes.
But also in relation to her and the director and the horror film, there's a few points that I would like to put forth. I think she recognizes because of the way that the director comes off, she recognizes that authority.
Yeah.
And so she's not gonna like cross that line where she might run over other authorities because of her her I guess I'll use arrogance since you say arrogance quite a bit, so it's kind of stuck in my head.
It borders on it. Yeah.
Yeah, borders on it. Yeah, to be clear, it borders on it.
Yeah.
I think some less than charitable people would call it full on arrogance, to put it politely. But she recognizes not only the authority of the director, who's a phenomenal performer, but also the fact that this is her way in. And if she messes this up, if she gets on the director's bad side, she might be done as far as being in a performance other than adult films.
Well, and the director even says to her, when like when the director basically says, "Get your shit together," and she says, "There are hundreds of other girls who would kill to be where you are, and I will replace you in a heartbeat if you are not committed to this."
Yeah.
And that's just basically calling her out on her professionalism. Like saying, you show up to work, you're the star of this, but it's very much, I'm not going to treat you like celebrity status. You are still here to work, to do a job, and don't waste my time. I also like to throw out the dynamic of that you also see in parallel to Maxine that this director has also had to really work and push and kind of be almost aggressive and confident. So you also I feel like the director also sees, there's an element of they see each other.
Yeah.
They see themselves in each other.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. I almost would have said like kind of a motherly energy in a sense of like, I've lived through this. Now I'm going to help you through this kind of deal. And then let's see here. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah. The movie that they're making is a horror film.
Yes.
And back then, so before the slashers really started to come through, horror was usually something that was, and this is something I learned recently. Horror back then was usually something that was more geared towards children. The whole monster of the week kind of deal, like comic books and things like that. I'm not speaking about like Tales from the Crypt. We'll pin in that.
That's another
but, like,
discussion for another time.
Yeah. But like you would get like monsters and stuff like that, and like there are little things here and there that like kids would be kind of into, and they would be like, yay, this is fun. But then when things like Halloween started to come out, and you started to see like Black Christmas and whatnot, these things started to get geared towards teens and stuff. And so they started to address those kind of themes. And that's kind of part of what kind of culminated in the slasher genre, which is what Maxine is getting into as far as a film. And so in 1985, you got like, I think Friday the 13th already came out at that point.
Well,
Let me give a
interestingly, I
quick
just
look.
looked it up. Nightmare on
1980
Elm
was,
Street. Nightmare on Elm Street was literally the year before.
yeah. The year
So
before was also the fourth Friday the 13th.
so yeah.
So
So
there's
now you've
been a
had to
lot
start.
of
So you've also started to see
slashers.
kind of franchise within of sequels of horrors, and then again, I feel like Nightmare on Elm Street. That one's a very '80s associated,
Mhm.
like teen and young adult targeting slasher horror film, and that would have been just the year before.
Yeah.
So
Um, and back then horror films are cheap to make. Typically they don't say anything, but this director is geared towards trying to kind of say something with it, from what I
yeah,
understand. Um,
you get the impression
there's
she's fighting to be taken seriously despite the genre.
yeah, and there's a degree of like which I think that it's kind of conveyed in the entire trilogy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a level of like feminism layered into that,
Oh yeah.
both as the director and the actor, their
Hmm.
positions in the hierarchy and stuff like that. So working even harder to produce the same results in the eyes of those who are executive producers who are like, well, we fund this. Without us, you have nothing kind of deal. Um,
They're fighting to be treated as equals in what is still a male dominated industry. And I think that's why the director, you have the elements of the director seeing herself in Maxine and
yeah,
recognizing where Maxine's at, but also recognizing here's, you still have to play by the rules. You know, you still have to be, yeah, and almost that element of you have to be even better than better because the world is going to look at you. You were come, especially I think this director also recognizes it's not just this is in a male dominated industry, it's also you're a woman coming from adult film.
yeah,
She very much is kind of confronting Maxine with you have the talent, but you are going to have to work twice as hard for people to take you seriously, and part of the way you do it is you be more professional than any of the rest of them.
yeah.
You
Which
basically be so good they can't say anything.
yeah, which I can't imagine that kind of pressure. That's just like mind and will breaking pressure.
Yeah.
But she takes it on like a champ. Like she does the thing. Um,
Hmm. And you
and it's
see her
funny,
do that
like
despite the fact that she gets confronted with things that she's clearly tried to escape from that are clearly sources of discomfort for her. You know, when her past starts to come back and she starts getting, you know, the sort of gets the VHS tape of the footage from the police footage that's now been saved from the porno that she shot in Texas and
yep,
all this other stuff that she's that stuff very much targets her at something she wants to separate herself from
yeah.
and creates anxiety.
Um, one of the funny things um in this story, and it's a small thing, is when Maxine gets in the car, her car,
Hmm.
and the I'm gonna call him a PA, the producer's assistant guy with the clipboard and the I think he's got like a little head thing on. He
Yep.
comes up to her and he starts talking to her, and then like as he's going away, he turns around in their first meeting. He's like, "I really liked your like performances and stuff."
Like I love
Uh,
your work.
yeah, I love your work is what he says. And knowing what her work is, you kind of imagine that he has a collection of VHS tapes that's like massive that
Yeah.
focuses on like her being in the catalog that he has. And then at the end when he runs into her again, he basically just says, "Hey, we're ready for you." And then that's it. Like he goes. It's it's an interesting level of like how would I put it? Um, sorry, I spent so many years learning German. Um, it's it's a matter of like duzen and season. Um, he's very comfortable with her in a way in the first meeting
Yep.
that is too comfortable.
Yes.
Whereas at the end, he is in a position where he recognizes the the separation of their professions,
Yes.
and uh, that's when he's more appropriate
Yeah.
because he recognizes where she is as a professional rather
Yeah.
than like as like, oh yeah, this person is like somebody who I've seen do performances in the adult variety, and like I'm gonna treat her like the way that I treat when I see her on screen.
Yeah. It's to put it crudely, it's he goes from seeing her as the woman he's probably jerked off
A lot.
to a professional actress
Yeah.
who has power over him because he's just a PA.
And she's the star.
Exactly. Yeah. It's he sees a person and a professional now. Yeah, and I always got that vibe too. Like when he says I love your work, I'm like that's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When you know what her work is, I'm like no amount of owning your work, that's still uncomfortable to have somebody who's basically a stranger say I love your work when it's like, yeah, my work is porn.
Yeah.
This is like
And
and she even the look on her face like she's just it's a look like she's heard that before and she just ignores it.
yeah. And I don't think that there's a single instance where something like that would be appropriate.
There's really
Like
not.
there's really not. Even if you're like a fellow performer in a film, right? Let's just say it's an adult film, right? And you're a fellow performer and you're basically on equal ground. I still don't think that that's appropriate necessarily.
It's really
It's
it's a little
weird.
bit it's very weird considering the kind of work she does.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where it's like this isn't an appropriate conversation. Maybe between two closely working professionals, it would be a different, but I would say it would have to be like I feel like the only way that conversation could even work in a marginally okay fashion was if it was between her and another woman in that industry who was talking with her one on one. And
Or
even then it would have to be I feel like it would still be more of a it's almost more like a mentorship conversation or an experience of like we're in the same boat so we can talk a little
yeah.
more openly about it versus
Yeah.
that but I don't see any way that somebody could just walk up to you and say I love your work and have it be okay when your work that you're known for is porn.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other things, and like even like say that you're a person who does interviews at the AVNs,
Hmm.
right? I think that's what it's called, the AVN, the where they celebrate the industry and give out awards and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I think even then it's like probably wouldn't want to say, "Hey, I love your work." You might want to say something like, "We just saw your latest film, blah blah blah, and it was fantastic. Tell us about it, blah blah blah." Like the usual kind of like uh
Talk to them like an
lead-ins
actor.
to, yeah, talking to them like an actor,
Talk to them like an
right?
actor and a professional, not like not no and that's where I think the phrase I love your work has kind of a well there's too much open. What are you saying you love about my work? The fact that for her like what is it that she's naked on screen, is it this? And so it's almost like talk to them like a professional actor, treat them like a professional actor.
Hmm.
If you're going to compliment them as an actor. I love your work to me is like, yeah, it's a general compliment. It's not like it's not like sitting there saying you're hot, but it's still like
Yeah.
like in Maxine's case, especially looking at this character, this is somebody who is aspiring to be an actress.
It would be like if AI were to try to compliment her work, like compliment her talents. It would be like, "I love your work.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
just
A,
awkward.
B, and C." Um,
Yeah. It's just awkward. Like everything about that
Yeah.
interaction is awkward, but it very much, yeah, again, when it juxtaposes against the interaction at the end of the film when it's just Miss Minx and the fact that it's just Miss Minx, they're ready for you now.
Yeah.
You know,
He
where
he
now
uses
it's
her last name and puts some respect on it.
yeah, yeah. So it's very we're stepping away from that identity. And I think that's one of the big things we're seeing in this in her. She's kind of there's a big element of she's trying to shed the last of like the identity of an old identity,
Yeah.
you know, and she's already been working hard to do that. But
And
now
she's
it's
Yeah, and she's, done a lot. I mean, not just the convertible, but I was also going to add in like she's got a really nice apartment in like
a
a
decent
big part of
sized apartment.
LA,
Yeah.
I would say,
Well,
right?
decent size. I
Um
mean,
yeah. I mean, to me that's big in LA. Uh
yeah.
having lived in Burbank, like I had a
Yep.
studio apartment that was super expensive and it was about the size of this room that I'm in right now. It wasn't much bigger.
Yeah. And even
Um
if the economy is different now than it was then, it's still like LA's a big city. Cities are expensive.
Yeah. It doesn't
Here,
matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter like what time period. It's expensive for that time period.
exactly. And she works hard for it too. Like it's not like she's sitting here just soaking up, you know, God, I hate using this term, but like soaking up handouts or just like being. It's like you really get the impression, like who's it that says, you know, oh, I'm going to a party on this, and she's like, nah, I gotta go home, I gotta do this. Like she is
One of her
work
buddies.
motivated. Yeah,
Yeah.
when her buddy is like, come to a party, you know, in the hills, it's a big producer, you know, this. Her response isn't, oh yeah, let's go. She's like, I've got work to do,
Yeah.
and
And
she's got
that
that focus and drive.
and that work has also given her the best agent slash attorney ever, Giancarlo
God.
Esposito as Teddy Knight, Esquire.
Him in
God,
that movie was just amazing. Can we go over the fact that that man is brilliant in any and
I
everything he
love
does?
him.
He's
I love
amazing.
I love Mr. Esposito. Oh, he's so good at, like whenever I see his name or a face come up, I'm like, I'm excited.
When I saw him in this, it was just like, oh yes, and playing such like the agent and lawyer, and just
Yep.
very. Once again, like in X, we have a male character who's really also focused on empowering the female character too,
Yeah.
which again is, and there's, you know, this is an interesting one where I think we come up against a few more, because the thing that stood at me, the other thing that stood at me watching this the second time was, you know, it's Maxine, of course, she's in, you know, she's still working in the adult film industry, but like even the cops, you've got the guy, but then his senior is a woman. So you've got these elements of women in traditional male roles, you know, the director, and who've had to, who you kind of right off the bat, the way they're portrayed or the way they hold themselves on screen, you know, they've had to fight to be taken seriously,
Yeah.
you know, and I think the officer offers a contrast from the director, because she's a little bit more of a, especially when she later tells Maxine of, you could save these girls, why don't you?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of two perspectives on it, because then you get the director who's like, this is your job, here's what you're going to do. By the way, I love the fact, I don't know why it stood out to me, but I always love the fact that that director, like, there's an element of she does really still understand where Maxine's coming from, because I love how her response when Maxine is kind of really starting to feel the anxiety of being targeted, she goes, take the weekend, get yourself in order, and if you're really serious about this, this is when I expect you.
Yeah.
And there's something very gracious about that, but also speaks to the fact that she knows what it's like to be a woman in this situation,
Yeah.
and to have other things, and to be going through the change that Maxine is also going through, which is moving out of where she was into a new world.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I found that interesting, especially the dynamic of, you have the one cop, the other woman, and then you have the guy who you find out, especially towards the end, when he comments of, you know, I once wanted to be an actor, and you realize, like, he's kind of like, he's one of those guys where I'm like, kind of a dick, even if you mean well.
Yeah,
But he always
he's a real
kind of
piece
feels
of
like
shit.
he's trying to have to be a performer too. Like it's like, oh, you didn't make it as an actor, so you're just trying to take that same bravado into being a cop, and you can tell his partner is just so over it.
Yeah, it's like Willem Dafoe in Beetlejuice. Uh,
The number of times she looks at him like she wants to drop kick him, like, or like the time that scene in the like with the bodies and Maxine's like in the morgue and they're talking and he says it and then she just turns, looks at him, and goes, "Really,
yeah,
really."
yeah. This guy, he wants so badly to be an actor, and yet he's stuck as a cop. And
Yep.
it's not like he's necessarily like upset about being, say, below rank versus I think her name is Detective Williams.
Something like that.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's more like he would rather be acting than be a cop. And I think there's a degree of jealousy that he has with regard to Maxine.
Especially because it's like, I'm here having to solve a thing. You're getting the easy way out. You get to be an actress in this, and what we're seeing from the viewer side, what you're seeing is it's not easy at all.
Yeah.
And she is struggling because she's also being targeted, and she doesn't really understand why
Yeah.
at first. Just that somebody has brought her name in, and it's interesting to me that in some ways, like, her first response is avoidance.
hmm
And she sort of goes through a series of like stages of responding to it that lead up to
Or
the climax.
or the Mask of a Thousand Faces journey, where she tries to not be a hero and then eventually she has to like take up that sword and become the hero,
Yes.
kind of deal. Um,
Yeah. Okay, but can we just, I'm gonna, what, we can put a pin in more of it for later, but the turn when she goes to the nightclub.
yeah.
Oh man, the turn in that moment was just mwah.
Yeah, we gotta talk about that when we get to it.
Also
Um,
about the fact that we got Kevin Bacon back.
yes,
And man, he is good at playing a sleazy private eye.
he is like, I feel the bacon grease coming off the screen.
Emphasis
Uh,
on the grease.
yes,
Like, this
this
is like the
guy.
bacon that has no meat to it. It is just grease pouring off it into the pan, burning
Yeah,
shit.
it's just a slab of white. There's no meaty pink to be found anywhere, and like, he looks like somebody who hasn't taken a bath in 2 weeks. Uh,
Seriously. But doesn't even bother, and if you ask him why, he's going to give you some very long-winded explanation that amounts to, "I don't give a shit."
or he'll be like, "I was on the job, leave me
Yeah.
alone."
Yeah. He's
Um,
also just a very, like, talk about being good at playing a man who loves the sound of his own voice, because, man, you figured that out right away with this character. It's like, this guy. It sort of adds to another underlying element of this film of everybody's performing.
yeah, yeah.
And
Everybody is trying to be the star.
yeah, there's only one character I feel like, there's only a few characters who I feel like aren't really performing. And,
Yeah.
you know, one, I think that, and the detective, yeah, we've got Detective Williams is the woman, Detective
Mhm.
Torres is the other one. And then, so I feel like Detective Williams is, there's like, it's
She's
not
serious.
performing. Yeah, she's serious. The director is Elizabeth Bender. That's the character's name. She's
Okay.
not performing. And then her friend, the video
Leon.
store, Leon. I feel
Yeah.
like he's him more than almost in a more, he's the only male character who's not
He-
performing, and to me it's such a side note of it, but that when she makes something of like comment of like, you're a good friend or whatever or something like that, and he's under his breath comment of, yeah, because I'm the only guy who's not trying to fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a genuine friend. I got to
He
give
really
that to
is.
him.
And I feel like he really
genuinely
does.
cares.
Yeah, and he's like the only character who's he almost more than the others because he feels no obligation. He is just existing as he is, which is video store film geek.
Let me let me I want to try to push back just a smidge on that,
Mm-hmm.
cuz I think that Teddy also cares. but I
It's
think he
almost
cares with reason of like she's my meal ticket. But I do think he cares because he goes the distance for Maxine in her problems.
Oh, yeah. But Teddy, I think, is more of a. He's not. Yeah, I would say he's authentic, but he's also one of those people who's always performing. I think. I think he's somebody who's very. He's always got a show, but that's. It's more like long game. It's chess. He's
That's
always got a
fair.
reason he's doing something. There's always an action. There's a reason behind it, even if it's a genuine based thing. So
That's
he
fair.
genuinely cares, but he projects. It's like the only person who it's like what you see is what you get, I feel like, is Leon. And I think that's
Yeah,
why Maxine values him because as a performer, as somebody who is on screen performing and is aspiring to be an actress as a performer, and then right now, if she's getting recognized on the street, it's as an adult film performer. Here's one person who's not putting on airs for her.
yeah,
And I think, yeah, then Teddy's kind of close behind it, is close behind. He still performs, but there's again, you know, he respects her.
yeah, yeah. I would agree with that. I just wanted to kind of like feel that
That's
out
fair.
for a moment.
That's fair. It's a different kind than like, whereas Leon is just like, I'm here. And it's still, there's something about that
Yeah.
line Leon makes is just, to me, is hilarious because it's just so like,
Even though Leon is, can we call him queer coded?
I feel like he's queer coded,
Yeah.
you
Even though
know?
he's queer coded, like he genuinely cares. He's genuinely there for her. Like he didn't even have to necessarily say that line of like I'm the only one who's not trying to fuck you,
Hmm.
and we would still kind of get it. But I think that line also adds to the world
It helps
in a
emphasize,
sense.
it helps clarify for the audience too, I think, in kind of a healthy way, helps clarify it for him of there's no point, especially because you can see that he and Maxine are physically kind of more intimate. You know, they're cuddling on the couch. That it's a kind of a way
Yeah,
of making sure that that kind of intimate behavior doesn't undermine her independence, I think is why it's there. It's
that's
letting the
fair.
audience know
Um,
that no, she's not with anybody. Don't mistake this for what you think it is because she's not.
yeah, and I think now more than the past, I think we can look at that, at least the younger generations can, and say they are comfortable with each other in a way that friends are able to do that together.
It's platonic
Um,
intimacy, basically.
yeah, yeah. And as time goes on, I think we're seeing a little bit more of that in the world.
We are.
Um, we're seeing a little, especially with when it comes to guys, being able to be intimate in that way and close without it being recognized in a sexual kind of manner is healthy.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think that's why the
and
film acknowledges it because it's since it is something that is still being kind of fought. The world where
yeah,
there's the culture is still kind of pushing back on gender norms to say that, you know, platonic intimacy between men, between women, you know, between men and women too can take place. There doesn't have to be sexual involvement. And so I think that's part of why the film the line in there, it's like you don't need it, but at the same time, it's kind of I feel like it's important that it's there because it's
yeah,
reminding the audience of calm the fuck down. Because
yeah,
otherwise, as we know from the internet, you know, somebody makes some side comment to it, and the internet runs wild.
yeah, yeah. You'll see like trivia or something like that of did you know that they were actually supposed to be blah blah blah, and it's like
Hmm.
you didn't watch the movie.
Yeah,
You are media illiterate.
exactly.
Congratulations.
It's like
Um,
we are not going to have any confusion here about this.
yeah, and that's not to say that like that line is for the stupid people.
No.
To put it bluntly.
It's more
Um,
emphasizing a point that Maxine is
yeah,
independent, that she is dependent. She has come into LA, and I think what it does for her character is it really emphasizes that she has fought for her place, and she's fought for it of her own accord. She is really, and I think it's a contrast. It's not trying to say like her friends who are going to parties in the hills with big producers are doing the wrong thing. It's just, but I think we see it's trying to set apart that she's very driven to get there
Hmm.
and to prove that she belongs there,
Yeah.
you know, and not just be discovered. She'd love it, but, because it'd be an easier path if you just got discovered, but she's working really hard to
Yeah.
basically create her own future.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
which is
Um.
why attempting to lure her up into the hills hasn't worked.
Yeah.
Because it's
She's
sort
been
of,
too busy.
yeah, she's like, I got a job to do. I'm going to do my job.
Yeah.
And then creepy
uh,
bacon.
something to put a pin in for later in this sort of thematic element here.
Hmm.
Mulholland Drive, touching on very similar themes, and uh, the way I'd phrase it right now is like, what if going into the hills was another way, and what does that imply about Hollywood as well? It's like, uh, I don't want to spoil too much there, but so just kind of put a pin in that for now.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, and I
Um.
think it's sort of it's commenting a little bit on it. It's not making a main point of commenting on it, but I think it's commenting in the regards to show the contrast to her journey to the
Yeah.
point that we have.
I
So,
agree with
because
that.
this film is still very much about her specific journey, I think.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Um. Where are we in the timeline of this movie?
we've sort of
Um.
jumped around. I mean,
We
and
have.
I think in this movie there's a lot that's happening. Like, because
Yeah.
you kind of get a whirlwind of things start changing fast forward because she gets the audition, but then
Yeah.
she also gets
Like
the tape.
when I don't remember when it is, but when we first see her dancing in the club,
Box.
yeah, the person who's in her specific thing is the Jello guy, right?
Yeah.
And like he's so intensely into her that he breaks the literal wooden bar there,
Okay,
which
but
she's behind a glass or whatever, so it's not like she can necessarily like hear that or like see
no,
that or whatever.
no, she just
um
knows if he's feeding more money into the meter, basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
um
So an interesting thing to me about that you point that out is the element of when I first saw that, I read that behavior predatory, but more like a desire predatory, the way they played it up.
yep.
And but then in light of the end of the film, to me it reads as rage
It
almost.
feels
Like
like a
it,
combination of all of that
yeah,
in a
but a
weird
little less
way.
sexual by that point, but more overtly like not strictly like it there's a rage to it, I think.
It's weird. It's a
Yeah.
weird moment considering the fact that they're fashioning a lot of Jallo uh, inspiration in it, because Jallo is very sexual, which includes something like that. Like
Yeah.
if we take it out of context, right? That scene, him breaking that and being like so intense and stuff like that, one could read that as him getting so excited that he has an orgasm when he
Yeah.
breaks
Reads like a
that, right?
climax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But knowing who he is, it it's a moment in the movie that it feels weird
Yeah.
because throughout the trilogy we never really, which I mean I guess we would exclude Pearl in this, but throughout the trilogy, just the two movies X and Maxine, we never really got an indication of that character feeling any kind of sexual way. Just
No.
flat, straight
Yeah.
up. Um, so to see the Jello expressions of sexuality involved in it feels real weird.
Well, and then
It
later realizing who it is, because it's not until really in the
the final
hills that we
act.
find out. Yeah, it's not until the final act that we finally understand who it is,
Yeah.
who he is.
S-
And yeah, it's almost in going back and watching it that's when I start to read that now. Like when I first saw it, it's like, okay, this is very sexually charged, the way
mhm.
this is being done. And it's more going back and watching it now that I find myself going, oh, they frame it in a very sexually charged manner, but it adds a layer of context that, like, in a literal sense, is he just angry? Because, I mean, it's that, the person holding the pencil and they're angry and angry and then they break the pencil.
Yeah.
But
It,
it's
that
but it's framed in a sexual manner, and I think that's intentional.
I think so too. I think it's intended to throw the audience off the trail,
Yeah.
in case they have an inkling of who it is.
Yeah.
Um, if that's the case, I think that's a little dishonest. Um,
Should we say who it is?
I well, we'll get
We'll
to
get
that.
to it.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think it's a little dishonest, and the reason I think so is that I think there's throwing a red herring at someone, and then there's intentionally trying to uh, veil who it is to such a degree that it can cause something nonsensical to happen in your story.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel that a little bit with this, with that moment, um, because typically when one reads cinema, when one reads like that and they have that understanding of Jallo and whatnot, even if they didn't necessarily know Jallo, upon initially viewing that scene, I could see it coming off as like sexual frustration and desire and whatnot. Um, but it it forcibly misleads you from thinking about who it could be by saying, okay, there's the sexual thing, and you know who it is, who it could have been, but knowing that information, you can cross that specific person off your list. But then in the final act, you see who it is, and you're like, well, I had no way to like, I had no chance of figuring out who it was.
Mm-hmm.
So the mystery part is cut off at the knees early by removing that possibility
Yeah.
through that conveyance of story.
Can I
Yeah.
offer
I
a?
guess to
Oh,
me, hmm?
can I offer sort of maybe a synthesis there? One
Okay.
thing that occurs to me, like, and without saying yet who it is, when we talk about issues of sexuality and women, and it's true today still, but I'll just phrase it this way, especially back then, what is the it is inescapable to deal with and it is inescapable the aspect of who, like, yeah, you guys refer to it earlier. Maxine owns her sexuality. There's a strong sense
Mm-hmm.
of ownership there, but it's also like when we look at it at a systemic level, who has traditionally owned women's sexuality in society, like even if they are exhibiting it, who tries to control it, who tries to utilize it, who tries to make it theirs when it's not theirs. So when we talk about, like, I don't think necessarily that the rage and the the aspect of it being sexual in nature necessarily is a red herring or a means to trick, but I think it could also be like it is very sexual in nature, but this person feels a rage. They are not in control of this sexuality that they feel that they have the right to control.
hmm that's kind
That's
of
a
what
very good point.
and that's kind of what it reads a little bit to me. Especially when we do find out how the character is, it puts into context even more that character is controlling.
You know
and
what?
is so controlling that they've. Wait, what?
Those are good points. So when
Yeah.
I see it through that lens, I think that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I think I'll rescind my comment there. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
just to touch on that societal aspect of sports, like and in this day and age, like we see so much of like incel culture as well. It's like these are people who believe they are owed sexuality, they are owed service, they are owed control of women and sex.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And in that regard, Maxine has defied this person not only by separating herself from them, but also by being overtly sexual, by owning her sexuality. It is very contrary to the culture that this person pushes.
Yeah.
And the other thing that to me stands out of that scene is that it's partly that in contrast of it's the faceless star. It to me it sets up there's an element of we see Maxine being very confident, being very in control. And this scene takes place just before our fun little Buster Keaton scene. um,
Yeah,
but
which we'll get to
I
next.
think yeah, which I think that's intentional because we're also seeing Maxine in danger and she doesn't know it. She's very confident. She owns her sexuality. She's in a position in this sort of performative, they feed the meter basically, and she performs for them. That you go on one hand, well, she's behind a glass wall, this, but at the same time, you recognize that there is a predator. There's a predator stalking her, and she doesn't know it yet. And so, as a viewer, I think it's meant to tell you she's in danger. And yes, we're seeing a character who's very confident in control, but she doesn't know what's coming yet. And it's very dangerous for her in that regard. And then
Hmm.
to have that immediately followed by as she's walking home, she realizes there's something there. And I feel like the first time I watched it, I almost expected it to be that shadow,
Hmm.
that person, only to have it be another predator. And then
Yeah.
to see her respond, it's like it's very intentionally placed to kind of let the audience know this is not the same Maxine that we saw at the beginning of X. And I think that's where it's kind of very intentional. Is we're setting her up into very vulnerable because think about in X, she's getting stalked by Pearl
Yeah.
and is uncomfortable with it, is kind of unsure what to do with it. And so I think this is kind of their way of synthesizing and pushing in front of the audience of you're meeting a very different Maxine. She's literally, quite literally, grabbing the world by the balls and
And
crushing
I think
them.
and I think that by the end of X, she's had a bit of a revelation wherein she acknowledges that more so than ever she needs to protect herself.
Yeah,
And I think that when it comes to the Buster Keaton scene, which I guess we'll shift to,
yeah,
um, she pulls a gun on this guy. So
yeah,
to set it up, she's walking home or whatever. She takes a wrong corner and she goes up to this fence, and the fence is chained locked.
yeah.
And there's a guy who's coming up behind her. She knows it. She's trying to get away. Like she's trying to figure out a way to open it or to get over the fence or something like that. He comes out with a switchblade,
Hmm.
right? And
It's
he's
very vulnerable for her and very familiar
yeah.
in some ways for a lot
He
of women because it's, oh shit.
yeah, he looks very much like Buster Keaton. Like
Yeah.
they picked a good actor for that
Yep.
look. Um
Also,
and
don't
then
trust that street performer.
yeah. And then when he gets just close enough, she turns around and like has a gun pointed directly at him.
And her whole
Like
demeanor changes in that moment when she turns around. It's like she goes from being the weak little damsel that he's clearly stalking because he's seeing, ooh, target, target. And when she turns around, it's like Valkyrie.
yeah, like the turns tabled as they say.
Hmm.
Um and so she gives Buster a lesson, and she talks about how she's killed people before and stuff like that. And then she gives him a good busting by busting his balls, um,
Literally.
literally.
Yeah.
Because she makes him strip,
It's a
and then she
very
has
moment
him.
where she goes, "You think I'm vulnerable?" It's very, very much her saying, "I am not vulnerable, but you are." And her
Yeah,
turning the tables on his assumption of dominance over her.
yeah,
You
and
know,
like when she has him on the ground and she literally stomps his balls. Um, I gotta say, I look away
I do
because that's
too.
hard to watch.
That was pretty
Um,
gross.
I think that's something that's hard to watch for most people. Um, and not to say that it's not an important note or anything like that. I don't think it would qualify as extreme horror, which
No.
if you listen to previous episodes, I've talked a fair bit about of like splatterpunk versus extreme horror and like things in between. Um, and I don't think this trilogy is extreme horror. I think it's very much splatterpunk in
Yeah.
the sense of how it uses gore and horror and such.
It's very
Um,
deliberate.
yeah. So like even though this moment is hard to watch, uh, presumably for most people, um, it's still something that doesn't feel like it's too much.
No.
It feels like it's saying something,
Yeah.
and it's like in a sense it feels pretty good.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where what's interesting to me is it sets up also very quickly that Maxine lives by her own rules
Yeah.
and her own and does what she has to live by them. And I think it sets up very effectively that because on a legal, socially appropriate standpoint, she's just assaulted the guy. Like,
Yeah.
just, you know, yes, he started stalking her, but very quickly when she turned the tables, she was no longer the person in danger, he was.
Yeah.
And it's cathartic. I think it's meant to be a little cathartic because, yay, she didn't get jumped. Yay, she took control of the situation and very, very quickly owned it and undermined him and proved that he's really just, you know, he's not that strong. That he's really just weak willed, that he was looking for opportunity, and she's proved I am not an opportunity. It also sets up, because it's before we start getting dead bodies on, the murders, the dead bodies, the police on screen. It also sets up that she doesn't really, she's not out there to break the law, but she also doesn't really, it's more like an amoral.
Yeah.
Like,
She
she's,
knows she knows the city she lives in and she takes care to be safe,
yeah.
however that may need to be.
Yeah, it's sort of in other genres it's like the anti-hero, the person that doesn't necessarily follow the law, but they're not the bad guy either. They just do what they have
Actually,
to get shit done. And
I
that's
wouldn't be
very her.
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if she was licensed.
I wouldn't be,
Um,
yeah. She could be very.
I I think especially considering that it's the time of the Night Stalker, I see her as somebody who took the initiative. If it wasn't during the Night Stalker or before the Night Stalker, it was definitely during the Night Stalker. She took initiative. She got herself practice. She got licensed. She got a gun, and she carries it with her.
Yeah.
Um, because she knows that
Well, in that
people
part
be
I
crazy,
well, and that
and
part to me also makes complete sense that she got there and just went, and also she's a Texas girl. So
yeah,
you figure at some point she's also been around a firearm. But yeah, I completely believe that it's like if somebody went, "Well, do you?" She'd be like, "Yes."
yeah,
But she'd also, I feel like her response if somebody dared to challenge her license and they weren't like a cop, like that was just clinically being like, "Show me your license," that she would probably also give them a, "Do we want to go down this path?" Like kind of how she'd handle it a little bit like the Buster Keaton of, "I dare
yeah.
you. I dare
She
you
would
to make me prove it."
Thinking about
she
it in
would
the
shut that shit down hard and fast.
Yeah.
thinking
She
about it in the
don't take shit.
thinking about it in the context of X as well, it's like, I mean, she has direct experience like with how the darker parts of the world works. Like you think, like how long were Pearl and her husband, murdering passersby and tossing them to the gators before the police ever showed up, and it took Pearl and her husband murdering all of her friends to finally show up at that backwater farmstead.
Yep.
And so it's like
Mm-hmm.
she knows she lives in a world where if someone doesn't do something when they find a predator then and there, they're gonna keep predating. They're gonna
Yeah.
keep
She
doing
doesn't
that
rely on
shit.
the system to solve the problems. She solves her own problems.
Which is funny because Detective Williams tries to thrust that upon her by saying you should protect the other girls, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
but Maxine protects herself because
Yeah.
she is somebody who relies on herself.
It also
Yeah.
ties
Uh,
into what
Well,
you
and
guys said at the start. Who, like you guys talked about, it was the public that was heavily responsible for finally catching the Night Stalker, not necessarily like the system of the police that did it.
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it also goes into, I can't believe we're not touched on it, but one of the really important kind of, the phrase that kind of thematically sums up Maxine in particular, this film, and we see it at the very beginning, because I think the very first shot of the film is actually another flashback to when she was a child with that evangelical father and the camera on her, and he goes, "Say it like you mean it." And it's her
Yep.
phrase, "I will not accept a life I do not deserve." And she uses that like an anthem and like armor. She says it multiple times throughout the film, and it's kind of, that has become her anthem. And it's very focused on, from thematically for her, it's very much of she won't accept it. And
Hmm.
yes, she feels she deserves it, but it's the side that we don't get from Pearl, is that Maxine also feels she deserves it, but she's gonna fight for it too.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference, is she knows how the world works, and so she's seeing how bad it can get, and so she's gonna, you know, claw her way tooth and nail to what she wants and what she
Yeah.
thinks she's owed. But she has no illusions about it. You know, she doesn't think it's going to be easy. She knows it won't be easy.
Yeah.
And
So, oh yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and I think that's where, you know, the director, Elizabeth Bender, kind of checks her on that, because you got the part, don't let it go to your head.
Yeah. So let's see here. So we dealt with Buster. I think that after that she's back with Leon for that first time.
Leon, that's
Um,
when the tape shows up. Like, they're watching Puritan, because it's the movie. The role she got is for the Puritan 2.
mhm.
So it's a sequel. And
She's doing her work.
yeah, she's really genuinely sitting down doing her research, you know, and that's when the film, she hears the noise and opens the door and finds the film, and when she pops it in, it's like property of such and such police, and oh, she recognizes herself.
Yeah. So much so that like it freaks her out. She pulls the tape out and she kind of treats it like she herself was caught with porn, like kind of as like a kid getting caught by their parent.
Yeah, she
Um,
really, you really get the impression from that she has tried to bury that past.
yeah, it's a very vulnerable moment that even the comfort of Leon is kind of not something that can soothe that
Yeah.
um moment.
And and I appreciate that actually about this film, with the way they characterize her, that she's strong, but she is still a very vulnerable person. Like, this
Mhm.
targeting very deliberately, you know, she still projects that aggressive confidence, like to Kevin Bacon's character, um, and everything, but you can see that there are points where you can see she's scared.
Yeah.
She's scared because she has tried to bury this, and now her past is coming back to her. And you also see, I think, the scene in um the props, or in hair and makeup, when she's the effects shop with
God,
the
that's
other young.
intense.
Oh, I see. And I think that scene is so important, because I think it justifies, to from a viewer standpoint, it justifies why this woman who's so confident, so ambitious, so driven, is so undermined by this presence of her past.
Mhm.
Because, oh, ick of her feeling Pearl's hands on her again, of feeling. And I think this is where the film makes sure that we know that from her perspective, Pearl was being very much like a sexual predator.
Yeah.
And it's a vulnerability that she has tried to push away and shove down and move past. And she's done so basically by running away from it. But, I mean, I don't blame her. That's,
Which I will say, quick aside, the person who plays the effects artist, commonly seen in a lot of A24 movies.
Really?
She was in Heretic and she was in Companion.
Interesting. Ah.
Yeah.
That's some
Yeah,
people with
very
some
interesting.
history in there. So
Yeah.
she did such a good job, just the contrast of just this is every day, it's so casual, but just that when she finds Maxine like gasping on the floor, just I appreciated that she as a character again recognizes it's not a oh my gosh, it's this, it's are you okay?
She knows what to do.
Yeah.
She's been in that situation before.
And because realistically, what she's doing with Maxine right there, the body cast, that is very typical. And that is what it takes to get like those like full like upper torso casts. I mean, I've watched because, for a while I was looking at doing like learning more about like prosthetics and facial prosthetics. That's how you go about doing that. And I've literally listened to like professionals talk about, do you do like being like, yeah, it's weird and it freaks people out because you're completely covered. And, yes, you can breathe, that they're not blocking the nostril holes, but it can be very discomforting because you have to sit there and not move and you're encased.
Yeah.
And it's a very disconcerting experience.
Yeah.
To go through getting that. It's a necessary experience. It's like, look, anybody wearing, like these quality facial prosthetics, especially if they're extensive, or in the case with like Puritan in the Maxine film, it's because at some point they're going to do a thing where they have a puppet of her head. So they need it to look like her. This is what it takes to do it. So it's sort of it's a little bit of a look behind the cloth, behind the curtain, little Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And we're going to look behind the curtain and remind the audience that it's not all glamour and hair and makeup. When you're in a film, there's some difficult stuff even your star actors have to do to look the part or exist in the film.
Yeah. That's
They
one
don't-
thing that I'll say about this movie as well, just as an aside, is a lot of movies that are made that are like about filmmaking, especially like if it's like, oh, this screenwriter movie or whatever, like it feels like somebody who's blowing the community, who's blowing the industry when they make those kinds of movies, because it's all like super glamorizing Hollywood, and oh, look at me, I'm a screenwriter, look how difficult my job is, I gotta sit and think about the script, blah blah blah. Or like, oh, look at me, I'm an actor, and I'm doing the acting thing, similar to like how some writers will write a story about writers, right?
Yeah.
And in part that's because that's their job, and so that's what their life is, and like they write what they know, or they in the case of film, they film what they know. And so a lot of times people will come back to that profession and focus a story on that. This doesn't feel like that. It feels like it's about Maxine and her life, but it's not centered on like, oh, look at like the glories of LA and filmmaking or whatever. It's like we have this moment where we're, say, making a cast for this character to do a scene, and it's just kind of living that life. It's akin to Halloween, the original Halloween, where it's not about, say, like these people are like gratuitously nude or gratuitously having sex or whatever. They're just living their life.
Yeah, Well, I
and
love that, like, in the original Halloween, Laurie, like, pulls out some knitting while she sits
Yeah.
on the couch. It's so absurdly mundane.
Yeah. And that's kind of how this feels in Maxine, which is
Mm,
a very nice thing
yeah.
because there's that temptation to focus on like, oh, we're in film land. Look at it. Let's focus on this here. Look how awesome it is to do this. It's like, no, she's just like gooping Maxine up because that's part of the job. And then she goes to like take 10.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
it's
so
refreshing to see that.
yeah, it's so mundanely authentic that it's unmistakable for what it is. And to me, it's I know I've obsessed about this before. To me, it kind of this film again encapsulates kind of what to me is so vibrant about LA, that you can have people existing, that you get that Hollywood glamour. You know, the moment in the film that sort of to me kind of really gets it is when they look up and that's the house from Psycho, and you know, or they have the meeting at the original like set piece that was the Bates Motel. Like there's that glamour of, oh, it's these places, we've seen them on the big screen, but it's also they're sets. They're sets. They're not necessarily fully existing buildings. When she runs into the Psycho house, you go see inside, and you're not standing inside a house. You're standing inside a set piece,
Yeah.
and there's a sort of it's so normal. It's
Mhm.
so plain. It's so non-magical, but it's the association of what goes in it. If we see this and this, and to me, that is so very Los Angeles. You know, just
Except for some places, there are some
yeah.
places that are actually functioning.
There are.
Uh,
There are.
my my personal favorite is in Boogie Nights. There is a location called the Donut Prince,
Mm-hmm.
and it's where oh shoot, what's his name? I feel bad I don't remember his name. Let's see here. Don Cheadle. Wow, I
Oh
apologize,
yeah,
Don
yeah,
Cheadle. Um, it's where Don Cheadle goes to pick up some donuts for him and his wife, and it's held up by a guy who is wanting money and stuff like that, and like it it's a moment of, oh shit, bad things happened,
yeah. Mm,
but Don Cheadle makes it all right. um that Donut Prince, I've been there.
yeah.
It's amazingly good. Like there is no better donut place in LA. Like
Oh, I'll have to stop
Voodoo
by there.
Donuts, like Krispy Kreme. No, Donut Prince. Go there.
Nice. Well, and
Like
that's the
it.
thing. Like, there are places around LA that are exactly what they are, and what you see like inside is this. And I think that to me, it's just, but to me, it's like when it is just, oh, it's a backdrop, or it's a set piece, or it's not a full building. There's something to me, and I think I enjoy seeing what goes in behind the scenes. And I think you and I can relate to this. To me, there's something imaginative, vibrant, almost magical about even seeing behind the curtain a little bit, and
There
seeing
is.
this is what it looks like over here. It doesn't always look like what you expect it to, but that's what makes it work.
Yeah.
And that
Um.
level of sort of just imagination that goes into it. It's why, like, to me, you know, it's fun. Like, you know, like when I go to Disneyland, like one of the friends I go to Disneyland with also works in film, and so they've commented like when we've been there about just being impressed with the production value, and it's always fascinating when I can hear stories about like behind the scenes of like how, you know, just the little things that it takes to make the experience be what it is on the outside. And to me, that doesn't ruin the magic of it, because
Yeah.
to me the magic is the people and everything that comes together that makes this happen.
Yeah. Um. My one of my own experiences. So when I was at the academy and I was doing my bachelor's in acting,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that we got to go to some of the back lots at Universal.
Nice.
Right? They had a
Nice.
deal with Universal. I'm assuming they still have that deal. But you would go to one of the back lots they had. And one of the ones that we commonly went to was the same back lot that they used for The Good Place, where all the
Mm-hmm.
Froyo shops are,
Yeah, I've
right?
seen that because I think the
So
tour that Universal Studios does also goes
mhm,
through a few of those areas.
it does. Like
Yeah,
they have a trolley that goes to the side.
yeah.
So when you're in the main spot, there's like all these little stairs, and there's grass before the stairs, and then there's the froyo shops and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I know what's there. Inside those buildings is like a bunch of like planks and stuff like that, because it's just there for basic storage of whatever. And
Hmm.
on the other side of the camera, there's a it's labeled like chocolate shop, but if you go inside of it, it's actually just a bathroom.
Yep.
And it's really funny to me whenever I see that, because I'm like, I've been there, I've shot stuff there, I know what it's like there,
Yep.
and it excites me every time. Like I get hyped for it, because I'm like, I know that place.
I think,
that's
and I
the
think
wrong
that's
kind
the
of
thing. It's
chocolate
why
shop.
people.
I'm sorry.
Very true. Very true. Well, and I think that's why it's like why people love to visit places where something's been filmed. Like people going to New Zealand, and I've seen where they've gone to New Zealand and gone on these hiking trips where they've visited all these spots where the Lord of the Rings was filmed, and it's like, other than Hobbiton, it's like the set pieces are all gone. They built these places, these set pieces, these beautiful things, and then like good stewards, they took it all away and left. Because again, other than Hobbiton, where they really truly built it, but even then, it's still like, but like, people are like, oh, here's Rohan and the hill, and the city's gone from there. It's just a hill, but there's something about going there and being like why people go to these places, because we know what was here. We see it in our mind, and
Yeah.
there is something fantastical about it. About being in
Yeah.
a place and being like, I know what's there, or like seeing it on a screen and it's somewhere you've been to and going, I know what's there. I know what's behind that wall, or I know what's around that corner, you know.
Well,
And I think that's why this film works, because it feels so much like LA. If you've been to LA, even if like it's not the exact same street, it just feels so much like I know that city that Maxine is walking through.
Plus, New Zealand is probably one of the healthiest places to live.
Oh.
But yes, you are correct about LA. Like, it feels so much like LA in this movie. It's phenomenal.
Hmm.
They did such a good job with that. Like,
Masterfully done, honestly. Very masterfully done. Especially considering, like the wide shot, I guess it's the drone shot at the very end, or chopper shot, whatever, however they got it, where I'm like, you probably had to go in and like make sure that there's nothing 2000 era showing up in the city skyline there. And
yeah.
but it's still, I'm like, yep, that's Los Angeles.
Yep.
That is LA. And I love it. I love it. I mean, I made a point of coming back here for a reason. So,
Um,
going
so
back to
we-
Maxine.
yeah. So she sees the tape and she freaks out,
Yep.
and reasonably so,
Yeah.
because now she knows somebody is specifically after her.
Yeah.
And it's not Buster Keaton.
Nope.
He learned his lesson.
He learned his lesson the hard way.
Not anymore.
Yeah. No. No. I mean, one would argue that within the context of film, she did a service to humanity.
A field orchiectomy.
Yes. So what happens next? I'm trying to remember the timeline a little bit.
It gets a little. I want to
little murky
say,
for
yeah,
us.
I've got a little bit of a murkiness because I think it's that same night Leon goes back into the shop or something, or it's the next day. There's a little bit of a blend together of days.
I think
feel
that's. I think it's
maybe
when Williams and Torres find the bodies and are trying to get Maxine to like.
It's the next day they find those first bodies,
Yeah.
and they approach Maxine because you're a person of interest.
Yeah.
That
And
you
it's the
seem
first
to
time
be-
that we see Torres act like a total dickhead.
Yeah, you right away figure out this guy is a little bit. He's bravado.
Yeah. He's also
know?
got that whole like actor cop thing in his head where he's like, this is how cops should be, which makes me also think that he is relatively new to copping.
Yeah, yeah. Or just
Because if he
has
wasn't,
really,
he wouldn't be behaving like that.
or has just moved up very slowly because he was still trying to be an actor for so long, and then finally was like, "Fine, I'll just keep." Because I mean, he's a detective,
Yeah.
so and that takes some measure of advancement.
It
you
does.
know. So, but
Um,
he could be somebody who didn't take what he was doing seriously until he finally was kind of confronted with, "You're not going to be an actor, sir."
yeah.
He may have had to come to terms with his mediocrity.
And even then, he hasn't fully come to those terms.
He doesn't even seem like he's the best at being a cop, and I think it's more just because the dynamic of he doesn't seem as focused
Hmm.
as Williams is. And
Yeah.
Williams clearly also is kind of better at reading people and approaching with nuance. Torres is a little bit like he's being a cop the way he perceives the world sees cops, which is,
And
I'd be
I
this
think that
man.
also I think that also further lends to the idea of like she's had to work really hard to get to that same position where he's just like goofing off and like
Yeah.
he just kind of like almost feels like he fell into that position.
Yeah, yeah. He happened to have a few good moments and now he's a detective, so at least he's still got a career. She's had to work to get there. Which is why I love that he fucks up later when they're trying to confront Maxine in the morgue and that
Yeah.
she just straight looks at him and is just basically like, dude, the fuck? After like she does not waste time calling him on the fact that he pretty much fucked that up. Because she's
Yeah.
already recognized, you can tell she's already recognized that bullying isn't going to work with Maxine.
Yeah.
You
Wasn't
know?
that when Leon dies?
Yeah, because that's the one
Yeah.
that really shakes up Maxine.
Yeah.
So I want to say that's a day later. There's kind of the mundane, like she gets the tape, and then the next day is when she's with getting the prosthesis done, the facial
Yeah.
cast, and then I think it's that night is when because then she gets the script. She has that awkward interaction with the PA. He gives her the script. She gets a few more, I think, words about production. And then it's that night while she's editing, while she's highlighting her script because she is so focused and so hardworking. So she's immediately going through the script, highlighting her parts,
Mhm.
and trying to learn it. That during that time, Leon is killed and very violently killed. Like,
Yeah.
in a way that you feel like, again, our villains, they're trying to rattle her.
Yeah. It's brutal.
It is. And it's
But it
so
also
sad.
it also fits that particular way of killing because the killer also carves into his victims
Yeah.
um the sign of like the upside down pentagram,
Yeah.
um
He basically is
which
marking them as being like Satan's
yeah,
spawn sort of thing.
and this is during the satanic panic, so it
We're
kind of
reminded
lines up.
regularly that there are protests going on at the outside these lots with people being like, Hollywood is corrupting our children, that sort of thing.
Yeah. um so we get to experience that. What about our boy Kevin Bacon, John Labatt, I believe his name is. uh
Oh, Bacon is very good at playing a dick,
he really is like,
playing a slime ball. I
and
mean,
and he's
skeevy
not
slime ball, creepster, and not
and he's not
necessarily in the sexual way, just creepy.
and he's not that kind of sleazeball who is kind of a pest but you can make go away. He's violent.
He's violent and he's like a cockroach.
Yeah.
Because and I love when she confronts him when he's got the car and he's trying to like, you can't escape, honey, and she goes up to him and she definitely catches him off guard. She approaches him because he's got the camera on her. So again, he's trying to
Mhm.
mess with her, and she goes up to him. I love that it's the keys. It's such like a
Oh yeah.
she knows what her outs are, and that she just beats his face, and he still comes back. Like,
Yeah.
he's a cockroach. He don't go down easy, and he knows it.
She literally put puncture wounds in his face by having an entire set of keys between her fingers and just
And she
repeatedly. It's not once.
no,
She's
she
laying into him about
wails
a
on
dozen
him.
times.
Yeah, and she is, and it is called no. She is throwing punches.
Yeah,
Like,
she is not messing
even
around.
without the keys, it's like that looks painful. You could take out the keys and she could still do damage. But again,
Hmm.
she is very independent and very like, I control my own, and don't you dare fuck with me or I will fuck you up.
Yeah.
And it's
Um.
not excessive. It's like she makes her point and then she walks away.
Yeah. Um. And he still vows things at her as she's walking away, like,
Yeah.
because he's not going to give up after that, which most people would. He does not.
I said
Um.
cockroach. And he knows he's a
Yeah.
cockroach. Like, this is a guy that part of what makes him so terrifying is he knows exactly what he is.
Hmm.
Like, it's funny because on the contrast, it's like he has no convictions. He'll go where the
Yeah.
money is, and he knows that. And in
Yeah.
that regard, it makes him scary because it's not that he's a believer, it's that he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
You know, he goes, this
Um.
person's paying me enough to make problems. I'm going to do exactly that.
But even then, there's one scene in the car, I think after Leon dies, where he turns to the Jallo person and he
Yep.
says, "Are you sure about this?" Like even he's a little unsettled by some of the stuff where they're going, because I think after that he asks for like more money.
Yeah. Well, to me, that also reads, especially again, when we later find out who our main villain is, it's almost more like a, seriously? Because he knows
Hmm.
what the relation is. And so
Yeah.
it's more like, to me, it's almost more of a, he doesn't give a shit, which is why he ultimately takes the money and does it, but it's almost more of a shock to encounter this social dynamic of, wow, you would do this to this person
Yeah.
despite their relation to you. It's more like he's being surprised by the depravity of humanity, but he doesn't care enough to do anything about it. He just decides that means it's going to cost more money and make him more money.
And
So hey,
and I think
can
that
I interject something real quick?
further emphasizes how just depraved and sleazy this guy is.
Very,
So
very.
so Liz,
Yeah.
back in the day, you were our resident costume person on our indie shoots, and one of
Oh
the
my
like
gosh, those
I,
days.
I, I do I do have to mention I still need to see Maxine, and I think if I've got the energy tonight, I might try watching it tonight now after
You
this, because
should.
it's like I've wanted to see it for a while, and you guys are making me want to see it even more and more and more talking about all this. But so I looked up Kevin Bacon's character in the film, and I'm
Mhm.
looking on Google Images because when you describe him as this kind of really gross looking, I'm like, I gotta see what this guy looks like. I can't wait. And I'm like, wait a second, that looks familiar. It's like, have either of you seen Chinatown?
No.
Yes. He
Okay,
looks like Giddis.
yes, he looks exactly like Giddis, and he also there's another he looks like that. I don't know how familiar either of you are with this. He also looks like Kolchak, Carl Kolchak from Kolchak, the Night Stalker, that old TV movies turned short run TV series. Uh, Gavin McInnes, I think, the father from A Christmas Story. So I'm kind of fascinated by them choosing this look for him. Like it's a very, in a way, it's a stereotypical kind of PI look. Though in
Mhm.
Kolchak's case, he was a reporter, not a private eye. But of course, Giddiz was. It's like like not just with the suit. Like from what I saw, like after she fucks up his face, he's got Giddis's nose bandage from where no.
He does.
So it's like I'm just kind of fascinated by the idea of like using such a specific kind of this very specific like LA, Las Vegas style of investigate like feels weird to say, but investigator's costume, like the light
Yep.
jacket, the kind of the slight elements of color, that fucking hat, that hat you never see anymore these days. Ugh.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. It's very distinctive and I think lends to when you realize how creepy, how much of a dick he is. And it's that sort of a, like when you first see him you and kind of realize he's a private investigator, I feel like when I first watched it, I was thinking, okay, so is we going to get somebody who's kind of a pain in the ass because he's digging and digging and digging. And then you get, he just is straight up an asshole who's gonna fuck with her, so it lends this element of, he's like, oh.
Well, not just that, but like he would hurt her if not kill her.
Yeah. If he was paid enough, he would kill her. And he basically admits later that he's like, I have no qualms about breaking the law, about killing, about whatever, as long as the paycheck's right. I mean, he's, in that regard, he's a mercenary.
Yeah.
He is just, violence for hire.
He really is.
Yeah. And his confidence in that, if he knows exactly what he is, and he's got, I think the other side to it is he's got the intelligence. And that's what makes him so scary, because it's not just he's a thug. He's got the investigative side. He is an investigator. He is a private, he knows how to follow clues, put pieces together, to sneak in, to sort of charm his way into things. The way he talks to the waitress at the hotel restaurant, when the waitress comes up almost like she's concerned that Maxine, because Maxine looks so out of place in that restaurant, and he's just like, just get us the check. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that throws Maxine with him, is because now he's bringing up her past that she doesn't want to deal with, and this is somebody who also sees her and is going to match her.
Yeah. And he does quite well. Like the next time they meet, after she gives him the teeth treatment with her keys, he chases her all the way up to, I think, the Addams Family house.
It's the Psycho house. It's the Psycho house that they.
Oh,
the
it
film
looks like
says,
the Addams Family house to me. But
I just know they said in the film, "Oh, that's the film," because the film loves to shout out to other past horrors, and it's Psycho, and then that's the house that he chases her to.
I must have missed that, because I saw it and I was like, "Oh, it's the Addams Family house."
They do say it at one point. I enjoy that there is something to me about the fact that, jumping into that scene, that, again, I appreciate that this film doesn't shy away from showing that despite her strength, Maxine is still vulnerable. She's not, she can still feel fear, and she does feel fear, because he really catches her off guard.
And the one thing that saves her is just a friendly security guard who's like, "Hey, excuse me, sir, I think you're in the wrong spot. Let's go on a walk together."
Yeah, security in the right place at the right time. And that realization as a viewer, and I think for Maxine, of realizing it came really close. And I think that's the point where she realizes, I'm really in trouble.
So she's got to get her man, Teddy Knight,
And
Esquire,
I
on the
love
case.
Teddy Knight's thug, his resident thug he brings in too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just, okay. That whole sequence when she finally decides, because it's after she talks to Elizabeth Bender, and kind of Bender says, basically, you have the weekend, get your shit together, or I'm I'm finding somebody else to do it. And I love that that's kind of the turning point, and that Maxine's response isn't just, she gets her agent, lawyer, but I also love the glam up. Like, she goes into battle when it comes to dealing with that guy. And the whole, like, the makeup, the mask eye makeup, that whole, like, sequence of stuff from her getting ready and then going into the club and then luring him out is so cathartic.
Yeah.
Especially when he comes outside and suddenly they're all standing there just like...
Yeah. And the glam, so it matches the 80s very, very well.
It does.
But it also reminds me of various, like, Viking and Norse shows that I've seen where they do the blue paint.
It's very
as
warrior.
Well.
Like, that's, to me, I feel like it's very deliberately, they're giving her a warrior image of, okay, she's, again, and it's coming back to, of, yes, she does have weaknesses. She can be made to feel vulnerable, but now she's taking control again.
Yeah. And oh my God, the end of of Kevin Bacon's character. Jesus Christ, it's terrifying.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. That I'm not sure quite what's more cringe, when the blood comes out the side of the car door or when the guy lets the dogs go and they go snack time.
and they lick up
The
glass.
remain. Yeah, yeah. Well, I
Like
think they
there's
make
bits
it.
of glass.
They don't really show the glass didn't stand out to me in that as much as it was that they were supposed to be eating the pulp and the blood.
Well, blood was there, but I didn't see any pulp. It just
It
was
looked
like
like
glass
pulp to me.
shards to me.
Oh, it looked like pulp to me. Like
Um,
leaking out the bottom of it because he just gets crushed.
yeah. But before that, it's funny. Like Maxine and him have that same talk, that final talk, and she's like, I thought you were an atheist. Uh,
Yes.
and then like it leads into him like at the end as the car is starting to get crushed in the car crusher,
I know.
him starting to pray.
I know. Like it's his
Um,
last ditch, but as a viewer, you're meant to kind of sit there and be like, dude, that's not how this works.
Yeah. And he's trying everything to like buy his way out of it and whatnot. Um and it's just straight up not happening.
Yeah.
Because they know like if they let him go, even if he initially cooperates, he's gonna try to get revenge.
Yeah.
And he's going
Yeah.
to try to kill them. So
As
like
long as
it's
he's
over.
being paid, he will be a problem.
I think at
And
that point, even if it wasn't for pay, he would be trying to get revenge on them.
he dislikes her now. Like he has a
Mhm.
genuine like kind of an it's he doesn't I
Personal.
you get the yeah, it's personal because if he doesn't get her, then she's the one that got away. And so
Yeah.
it's personal, but it's personal almost in a regards to how he sees himself professionally.
And
Because it's like it's an insult to him that she's gotten an upper hand on him.
it's a stain on his pride, and I think that there's a degree of like emasculation in that as well.
Yeah.
Since a lot of this film and the trilogy has a lot of like feminine and feminist like layers to it. I think given how incelly he is,
Yes.
he,
Yeah.
that hurt male pride is
And he can't
is
have
something
that.
yeah, he would try to kill her.
Which is so
Um,
it's so contrasted to in that moment, in his final moments when he's being watched by two men and a woman, and there is just a total like she's the one in charge, you know, her agent and his goon are literally just backing her up.
I think Teddy says to her, you can go home. We got this.
Yeah.
Like do your thing.
He's
you know?
very like he's very much the I got the like you get the impression that he's very much he's the kind of lawyer and agent that really does go above and beyond, because it's called if you're one of his people, he will take care of you, even if
Yeah.
that's covering up crimes.
He's
He just
he's
seems
the
so
agent.
he's so at ease with just go home, focus on your work. We got this here.
He's the agent attorney you want.
Yes.
Gives
Yes.
a new
Yeah.
meaning to the phrase homicide attorney.
I've never heard that phrase.
I have very rarely, but yes, yeah, it's very much like, he's just gonna hide the homicide. But he's very much the one that you as a character also feel like, yeah, there's no way this is ever gonna go back to her.
Yeah.
He knows how to bury the bodies so they never get found.
Yeah.
And
And speaking, oh, sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was going to say, and speaking of bodies, throughout this whole thing, we've had bodies appear. Most of them being fellow peers to Maxine in the adult industry.
Yeah.
Some of whom are actually not just from that industry. In fact, the lady who started in the first Purifier
Puritan.
was the latest one. Puritan, sorry.
Yeah.
I was getting Puritan and Terrifier confused.
I was gonna say,
Um,
not
but-
to be mistaken for each other.
yes, this one's good. That one's bad.
Yep.
So the lead for Puritan 1, who's come back for Puritan 2, it has also told Maxine, yeah, there's like a party up in the hills, and this produce like the same story that all the others have given. So Maxine knows what's up. And I think she gave her a little advice,
She
but I
gives her
don't
some
remember.
advice. She does try to give her some advice on working with Bender,
Mhm.
Elizabeth Bender, because at that point, you know, like Maxine had shown up late that day to the set. You know, she was supposed to be there at a certain time, but that was the same day that they found Leon's body, and so she was late coming in. And so, the director kind of gives her a bit of that terse, like, you're late, this is when I expected you to be here, you know.
Um,
And
well,
it's
I mean more like Maxine giving the other lady a bit of a warning, a bit of a heads up. I think she did, but I don't
no,
remember.
she doesn't.
No?
She's mostly just digesting in that moment. I think
Okay,
because
so
at that point it's
she's still straight up looking out for herself.
well, she's shaken up by this point because
Hmm.
that was the morning Leon's found dead. She's gone to the morgue. They're trying to push her to, like, Detective Williams is trying to push her to, like, help us catch this guy. And Maxine is
Yeah.
still very shaken up by everything that's happened. So
Hmm.
she is very much off her game when she shows up at the set. And now on icing on the cake, she's late to basically her first day with a director who's not known for being gentle,
Yeah.
who's much more of a, if you want something done right, do it yourself.
Yeah. So so even that lady has been killed at this point.
Mhm.
Um
I don't
and
think as an
Maxine is
audience you know that yet because Maxine doesn't find out she dies until she's in the hills.
that might be
Because
the case. Yeah,
it's the
that's right,
suitcase. The
cuz the
suitcase.
suitcase. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um so I forget what it is that finally prompts Maxine to go to the hills.
I can't quite remember, but she does start to she gets a note, I think, that says something like, again, it's another ominous note. And at that point, she puts together that she's heard these parties in the hills. I think the note just has an address in it. And the
That's
address
right.
is Hollywood Hills. And that's when she goes, wait a minute. I keep hearing people talk about the hills. And these people who've all talked about it to me, except for this other person, she knows have turned up dead. So it's where she's starting to connect that something's not right. Because she's
Yeah.
gone home just like her agent has told her to do. Her agent lawyers told her, go home, rest, take it easy. And this is when she gets home and she finds that note and realizes there's something else going on here.
Mhm.
And that's when she turns around and goes back because, I think there's an element of, are these connected? She's starting to see a thread of connection here. And I think at that point, she's starting to see that what Williams has kind of already recognized is that she's the linchpin in this. That something about this is coming back to her specifically,
Yeah.
you know,
So
to where
so
she knows
she
she has to confront it. Because if she ever
yeah,
wants it to stop for her, she has to confront it. So it's still born from a very personal motivation.
yeah. But, it kind of leads into everything culminating, which is great. Like it's really well done. It's
Yes.
her living life and these threads that seem initially kind of disconnected from each other start to form together.
Yep.
It's a great example of good screenwriting and like multiple A plot, B plot, C plot kind of deals that bringing the story together as one.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
so she heads up to the hills. Um, I don't remember everything that happens there as far as like the initial bit.
There's kind of a process of that she has to ride. One of the girls had mentioned before of, oh yeah, the only way you can get to this house is via like this little tram or like lift
Oh,
that takes you up there, and so there's sort of a build up of, okay, she sees the lift, now she's got to take the lift up. She gets to this big house. It's this bombastic door with this big bold design on it. Opening it up, stepping into a house, climbing up a stairway. It all builds up to when she gets to the room at the end of the hallway
yep.
and walks in and looks over And lo and behold, who does she see behind, sitting at a typical vanity makeup desk?
Watching a video of her as a kid.
Yes. Yep, as a child.
Saying that phrase.
Yep. Her dad.
Her dad.
That pastor.
Yep.
Which, I want to point out something I noticed about it this time watching. Go back and watch it and look carefully. It's very interesting to me because in that moment, he's got the tissues in the neck, in the collar of his shirt, like he's doing stage makeup. He's doing makeup like he's going to be going on camera. So kind of that sort of mocking parallel of her trying to be an actress, of him putting on his face. But it stood out to me when I watched it. I paused it and went back and looked at it. The makeup on his face makes his face yellow, and you can actually see his neck is a different color from his face.
Ooh.
It's like, and it's ugly. But it's a very yellow hue to his face. And it was an interesting thing to me that it's just a way they are also playing with color and design in that moment, because it's like a mockery of film, of like he's putting on his makeup for his big scene, but it's a mask because it doesn't even, like it's such a mask, because when you look, you realize that there's a differentiation, a very distinct color differentiation between here and the rest of his neck. And it's very yellow. It's very unnatural. It's sickening looking. It's very fake looking.
One thing that occurs
whereas
to me,
like when
he's a televangelist, right? So
yeah.
Yes.
So like I'm not well versed in makeup design to know what color makeups you'd want for what stage lighting, but does that play a role in it? And does that say anything?
Maybe
it's one of those things where I think it's just I couldn't tell you exactly, except that it seemed to me this time watching it that it was just a very deliberate way of sort of him mocking her. Even if it's not that he's intentionally doing that, like, I'm going to mock what she's doing, but visually to the audience, it's meant to kind of be portray his sort of mockery of her and what she's chosen as profession.
Yeah. But also to kind of piggyback off the idea of televangelism, like, they have kind of shitty tastes generally when it comes to things like looks and dress and appearance and all that. Like, it's in a sense their own vanity.
Yeah, and in that regard, but it's interesting too because the yellow becomes even more evident later when he takes her outside. And it stood out to me this time watching it, I'm like, oh, his skin is yellow, and you really like unnaturally so. Which I think lends to the element of, he talks about demons and satanic panic and this, but who's the real demon in this situation?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it, is it's sort of visually cueing the audience of who's the real monster here.
And we find out that he is the Jallo guy.
Yep. That he has been stalking her.
Yeah, he's been following her around. Maxine accidentally, as I think she's either trying to get away or like she's starting to back away, she knocks the suitcase that he has set up over, and it's got the body parts of the
other actress,
purified actor.
The other Puritan.
Yeah,
Puritan.
Terrifier's
trying to take over your brain.
Go away, Art the Clown.
Please.
Also real quick,
means,
to just one slight tangent back to the yellow. Do either of you know what giallo means? I mean,
it means yellow.
Yes.
Yeah. In Italian. And their novels, their pulp novels, would even have yellow as like the main bit of the cover.
Yeah.
It all comes
so
together.
That would fit thematically.
Yeah,
that
and the very yellow appearance to him. Whereas when you look over at her, she's got a very, she's still got like her makeup on, but hers is very, very natural. Almost glowing, almost glowing, given that she's also got the blonde hair. So there's a very visual duality going on here.
Yep.
Of seeing that, it's very intentionally, I think, is meant to show how twisted he is. And
f-
make sure that you have no qualms about why she ran away from that life.
yeah. So she gets knocked out somehow, and then she wakes up tied up to a pole at a pool in that area, surrounded by cultists,
Mm-hmm.
which is ironic because they are Christians who are against the satanic things and whatnot, and yet here they are sacrificing people who
Mm-hmm.
are generally innocent.
Yeah.
Presumably, all of them are innocent
Another odd
of
parallel.
crimes.
Yeah, another odd parallel in this moment, too, is the makeup the cultists are wearing. Because before
Mm,
we saw her in kind of her warrior mode with the red mask, eye mask essentially with her makeup, and this
yeah.
time it's not just theirs is a cross on their face, but they've still got the same, but it's black for them.
Hmm.
So, and again, just another visual parallel of now her
Funny
mask
enough,
is off, but they have their masks on.
so I know that this movie's taking it a little more seriously, but weirdly, this moment with like the cultists made me think of that scene in Django Unchained,
I've not seen
where
that.
uh, it's where all the guys have dressed up in their KKK uniforms and they're gathering together, and they're like, "We can't see in these," and what they start complaining at each other. One of them's like, "My wife worked real hard on these, so you need to knock it off," and blah blah blah. For some reason, like every time I think of this scene, I think of that scene, um, because I kind of half expect some of those cultists to have a moment where they break away from the reality of this of the scene that's going on and kind of go and say something like that,
Yeah,
where they're
you almost
like,
are expecting.
"What?"
There's enough similarity.
Yeah, I kind of expect one of them to be like, "Hey, like, are we the baddies?" Which is another movie reference.
Yep.
But they proceed. They're filming. One of them has sound stuff. One of them has the camera and whatnot.
Hmm.
Uh, the preacher is doing his preaching because this is his ultimate moment.
Yeah.
He pulls out a branding iron and is going to brand Maxine unless she confesses to being a satanic demon.
Yep.
Um, and
To-
then bang bang, ba 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 ba. Detective Torres comes out, and then Detective Williams comes out, and then a gunfight ensues.
I was gonna
Well,
say they literally come
they
out
hold them
guns
at
a
gunfight.
blazing.
They hold them at gunpoint. And then one of the cultists eventually tries to sneak pull a gun and ba 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 ba,
Yeah.
and then
Suddenly, all
all
the
hell breaks
cultists are
loose.
armed, because of
Yeah,
course they are.
yeah, all the cultists are armed, and firefight starts going.
You figure out very
Maxine,
quickly that they're not that good in a firefight, whereas you've got the two detectives who, when you think about
yeah,
how outnumbered they are, it's to me, it's there's an amusement of, yeah, they may be armed, but the detectives are holding their own against a whole
yeah.
group of armed people.
The cultists aren't quite stormtroopers, but they're missing.
Yeah.
Um,
Listen, it's the
but
armor of God, not the firearm of God.
yeah.
I'm so
Yep.
But during
sorry
the
it's burned into my
firefight,
brain from years of Christian schooling.
but during the firefight, Maxine pulls out a switchblade, I believe,
Yeah,
or
she's
some
been
other
carrying.
sharp object,
She has a
and she
blade on her.
starts, yeah, she starts cutting away at her bonds. She breaks free. By that point, her father has run off.
Well,
Uh,
he catches fire and
he
jumps in the
catches
pool.
fire. That's
Yeah, the
right.
brand, I think he drops the brand and the brand lights his robes on fire.
Yeah,
And,
and he falls. He happens to get lucky enough to fall into the pool.
well, I think he actually jumps in.
It,
Like, I remember watching it, and it was like he kind of knowingly jumps into the pool, which I have to admit, yeah, you're on fire, jump in the
yeah,
water. You
that
know?
makes sense. For some reason, I remember it as being like he catches fire and he kind of like finds his way into the pool.
Yeah, it's sort of
Um,
like panicked but semi-deliberate, like he knows what he's doing. But there's also one
yeah,
cultist who does fall into the pool because they try to grab her.
yeah. They try to grab her, and ooh, okay. That's one of the more brutal kills. Just because I can feel it when I think about it. It's when she's in the pool because the cultist has dragged her in and he's about to try to kill her, and she takes that switchblade and sticks it up his nose. And it's
Yes.
like, oh,
And it's in the water too, so it's just
yeah.
suddenly a cloud of blood
Wait, Dave,
around
where
him.
does she get him again?
Right up the nose.
It's
Right up the
Chinatown
nose.
again.
Yeah. It could be another reference to Chinatown, but she doesn't pull it sideways. She
No.
jams it all the way in
Oh,
like an ice pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh.
She's
Yeah,
very to the point and direct. Like she don't mince words.
like her switchblade.
Yep.
I was hoping one
and
of you
she
would pick
doesn't
up on
pull
that
it.
pun.
Yeah. And she doesn't pull it out either. She just leaves that guy dead floating in the pool. And so when she gets out, I think now by this point, the cops have started chasing after the preacher. They're all gone. And
Detective
so she
Williams
starts,
is the last one she sees going into the hills, but Williams says, "Stay here,
Yeah.
we've got him," or something like that.
Yeah.
Williams, of course, the detectives think because they have now dominated this mass of cultists that were armed, that don't worry, we've got this.
Yeah.
Leave the civvy out.
And then when Maxine catches up, because she decides to follow anyway, um, Torres is on the ground and he's like holding his neck, and William says, stay here with him, make sure that he's gonna be okay or whatever. And like he can't even talk, and he just kind of fades.
Yeah.
Um,
He says a little bit
then-
because that's when he says, "I was going to be an actor too."
Yeah.
That's when he reveals that he basically came to LA as an aspiring actor.
That's right.
And then he does make a really interesting, because I always found it interesting that he looks out at the city and kind of, I can't remember his exact remark, but there's an element of, it's meant to be sad. That there's a
Yeah.
part of him, he may have been a bit of a dick and bravado, but he meant well, even if he
Yeah.
sucked at it.
And it's funny, he gets the sad moment. Then when Maxine hears like gunshots and stuff and she runs over, like here comes Detective Williams saying, I got him. And she's got like, I forget what it is in her eye.
She's got like
And
his
she
cross.
just like, yeah, his cross is in her eye.
Yeah.
And she just like falls over dead after being like excited. Like she's like, I got him. And they're just like,
I don't think she actually dies. She still survives. It's just she falls
Really?
over. Yeah. I didn't think
I
she
thought
died.
she died.
No, I think she still survived. It just was kind of manic energy.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe?
I read it as like she got iced by that guy.
Now I want to look it up. I'm like, but either way, even if she
Either
lived or
she's dead,
died.
or she's got a cool eye patch going forward.
Yeah. Schrodinger's detective. So while
She went over the hill, so she could be alive, she could be dead. We don't know. We can't see her.
yeah, but if we look, then we know, and she can't maintain both states at once. But Maxine goes where she was, and she sees her father laid out on the ground, I think bleeding out, and she's got a shotgun, I think, or she picks up
She has
a
a
shotgun.
shotgun. She has the shotgun. Yeah.
Um,
Yep. Mhm.
and it's at this point he's talking to her, and there's a helicopter that flies in above and has the spotlight down on her, and is like, put the gun down and blah blah blah, do not, like, basically saying don't kill this man or whatever. And Maxine, she does she has the cool moment where she says the whole thing of like, now say it with me.
Yeah.
And it's that prayer thing that he had her say when she was a kid.
Well, it's funny because in that moment, there's almost a moment where it almost reads, because she goes back, say it with me, the same way he told her and he does, where there's almost an element, and I forget what he says to her just before then, but there's an element of her kind of saying, I'm here because of what you taught me. Because it is
Yeah.
a phrase that he taught her. It is, her anthem is the anthem he gave her. So kind of in a weird way, it's her acknowledging his role in getting her to where she is, and him kind of realizing that she took away those lessons from me. It's not meant to really make you feel sympathy. I think it's just sort of a recognition of there is still a father-daughter dynamic in there.
Yeah.
Of that he did still help shape her. But she also needs to be free from him. Well, note, though, that in this moment, too, this is where the scene starts to really break up, and before we see what happens next with him, we actually jump forward to her in an interview show with her lawyer. So now we jump around a little bit between some things where they're like, suddenly it's like she's noted as being on TV because she survived and helped capture this murderer, and, her sort of they jump forward to us seeing her assume this role as a public face that's now not just somebody who was in porn.
Yeah.
Of being like an actress, a woman. And I love, her agent lawyer standing there with her while she interviews on the show, and, she says all the right things. She's getting out of the car at the premiere because they say, oh, yeah, and you've got Puritan 2 coming up soon. And then it's the end of production or something. No, it's not the end of production. It's the production, which I guess which you realize was put on hold because of the other actress getting murdered. And the director being like, we're going to take a moment of silence, everybody, for this actress. For the people who died. And I love the little moment of she looks over and, like, I'm assuming it's supposed to be like her first AD or something. They both sort of look at each other, and it's done. Now let's get back to work. So
that's the first AD.
Yeah, the life goes on. They write that there's kind of an acknowledgement if we lost somebody, but we got shit to do. We got a movie to make. Let's go make that movie. And then the premiere of the movie, and Maxine is truly had her breakout role in this. And that's after that is when we come back, I believe, to the hill behind the Hollywood sign, mind you, with him. And then what does she do to her dad?
Boom.
Mind blown.
Oh yeah, she splits that melon like it's Gallagher.
It's pulpy. It's a very pulpy boom boom.
It really is.
So, I even like the way they play it at the beginning, that they don't immediately show you, that they kind of jump forward and confuse. It does confuse you a little bit, but it's more like we're really going to emphasize that this is her freeing herself from her past.
Yeah.
Can I ask the dumb question?
And yeah.
So again, the person who hasn't seen the movie yet, but from what we talked about with Pearl, I do want to ask the question: is it a flash forward, or is it her imagining what she thinks might be the potential that comes out of what she's about to do? Like less.
I think it's a flash forward.
I think it's a flash forward.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There's such an ownership to it, and kind of the way they shape it, and I think that's the point that they sort of are trying to make in contrast to Pearl, is that Pearl was not, like, Maxine is very grounded essentially in reality, and Pearl has never truly been grounded in reality.
Yeah.
For whatever reasons, from the nature of how she was brought up, how she was sheltered. And so she's never been totally in touch with the reality of what she's aspiring to, whereas the contrast is that Pearl thinks she sees herself in Maxine, but Maxine knows what she wants, knows the world's going to fight her for it, and she's going to fight the world to get it.
And she's going to take it.
Because she won't, and she won't accept being told she can't have that.
Yeah. And that's Maxine.
It is. We end. I love the final shot of the film, that it's not just like, let's pan on LA, but that as we pan on LA, they come to where it's supposed to be the Hollywood sign, and instead it's Maxine.
Yeah.
To me, it was just a little fun tidbit that I'm like, yes, I see what you are doing, film. So,
And for the sake of the fact that we're ending on Maxine and we have the uh, drone flying up into the sky, I want to highlight a couple of projects that Mia Goth has coming up. That's all right.
yes. Well, because these
So,
were this trilogy has kind of been treated. I've read it, like I was doing some reading on her, and this has been kind of her breakout of
yes,
like pushing
this is
beyond what
her.
she's done previously.
This is her big breakout. Because she's had like a few things. Before that,
A lot of
um,
indie.
I think most notably before the X Trilogy would be like the second Nymphomaniac
Yeah,
film, which don't watch that.
yeah.
It's
She's
not very
basically
good.
been involved in much
Um,
smaller, more indie projects before this. This has
yeah,
kind of been, it generally is regarded as this has kind of been the breakout
yeah.
project or series
So
of projects for her.
Oh, I forgot she was in the Suspiria remake.
yeah,
Hmm.
she was in Suspiria as well.
Yeah.
But for her upcoming stuff, first one that I'll say is probably the one that I care about the least. Is a Star Wars movie
Oh
that's going to
yeah,
be in
Starfighters.
2027. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Um, and then you might have seen me give a weird look recently while we were winding down. It's because like the other one of four, the next one is the Odyssey. Uh,
I didn't even
and
realize they were making that, but okay, or
yeah,
remaking that
it's
again.
it's coming out in 2026.
Oh,
And
no one
the
on that
weird
one.
look that I gave is because Matt Damon is playing Odysseus. See? You gave the weird
What?
look too.
What?
You you gave the weird
Can
look.
we stop casting? I feels like when Christian Bale was cast as Noah and
So
Noah's Ark or whatever it was, and I mean I know he's technically Welsh, so at least it's not, but it still is like, what the fuck?
this
Oh,
this
that one
cast
started
has
was
some.
studded. Yeah.
This one has a lot of stars in it. You got John Barenthal, obviously Mia Goth,
Hmm.
Tom Holland, Matt
Okay,
Damon, Robert Pattinson,
gee,
Anne Hathaway, Zendaya,
this is just literal.
Charlize,
This is tons of people in it.
yeah, Charlize Theron, Elliot Page,
John
who
Bernthal.
I haven't heard Elliot Page in a minute. I wonder what he's been doing. Maybe he's
Outside
been
of
making other movies, but
Yeah, he's
Umbrella
been doing some
Academy is the
stuff.
last major project I've known that Elliot Page was involved in.
I haven't seen that.
I haven't either. That's just the only project I've known of theirs in recent years.
Um, John Leguizamo, which we talked before filming this. We were talking a little bit about John Leguizamo. Um, and there's just like a lot of names attached to this already.
Yeah.
And there's like costumes and stuff on IMDb and a boat and everything. So they're working on it. Like they're
Oh,
filming
but
it.
it's a Christopher Nolan film, so it's going to be like 3 hours.
Yeah, but you know, I'm mildly curious. Um,
I'm
and
mildly,
then
but I've also been getting tired of how long his films are because they're unnecessarily long.
true, but I'm hopeful. The upcoming one, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein.
I'm so looking
Yes.
forward
She's
to
in it.
that.
Um,
It looks so good.
you got you also got like Oscar Isaac, Christoph Waltz.
Another
Um,
big deal film coming out.
yeah, and it's coming out this year, which is very exciting. So I'm curious about that. And finally, another one that I'm really excited for. It's in like pre-production, I think,
Mhm.
is Blade.
Oh,
They're bringing back Blade, but it's not Wesley Snipes. It's Mahershala Ali who's playing
Yeah.
Blade,
okay.
and she is playing Lilith, who traditionally Lilith, the archetype slash character, gets cast often in villain roles for media and stories and whatnot. But I think akin to Medusa, I think there are stories that one could tell of Lilith that are actually more heroic. It's just that nobody has done so yet,
Yeah.
to
Well,
my knowledge.
Lilith is largely a fictionalized, and so there's a lot of interpretation that's been taken with her, largely, yeah, in the more villainous direction.
And
Medusa also.
Yeah, yeah.
But
one thing to point out with the Blade movie is Lord only knows when that will happen, because memory serves, that thing's been in production hell for years. I think they've had multiple dates now that have come and gone for that one.
It's been...
Right now, I see 3 writers credited.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good sign.
No,
yeah,
not.
it's it's been, as you put it, it's been in production hell for actual years. Blade's been getting brought up.
They announced it, what, a decade ago now?
It's been
still considered development.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those ones that's been talked and talked about, but is still having trouble getting off the ground.
Yeah.
And this was not an upcoming Mia Goth, but I do want to give a shout out for this one. Haven't seen it yet, but I've heard she is phenomenal in it, and like just completely and wonderfully unhinged. Infinity Pool by Brandon Cronenberg, I believe, the son of David Cronenberg. That's the one where the rich people go to an island, and if you commit any crime is punishable by death, but you can like buy yourself a clone who is executed in your stead, so you can see all the things and the depravities that go up to with that.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing the trailer for that now. You triggered a memory of it.
It's like whenever I think of Mia Goth, I think of that laugh. That I can't like that really. It's like, God, I'm just a note for myself for the future. Put the laugh in here. We're putting that clip in here, and God, oh God, it's good.
It looks absolutely insane, that movie.
Is that one going on the docket now? Because it's been out. It's on home video now.
I'll have to look into it.
If we can remember.
Yeah. At the very least, at some point, I'll see if I can watch it just to see it. So, but yeah, after everything with the X Trilogy, Mia Goth was not a name I knew, and after this trilogy, I mean, it's like,
she's
bravo.
everywhere now.
Well, and bravo.
Deservedly so.
Exactly, yeah. And that's, I mean, it's a very, especially by Maxine, the cast is hitting very hard. Giancarlo Esposito, Kevin Bacon. You've got the Baconator, the real Baconator.
Yep.
I don't know why I have
Delicious.
so much fun with his name. I mean, like, was it
when
we
we
did Friday
loves
when we
bacon.
talk Friday the 13th, and I'm just like, it's baby bacon. I don't know why my brain has to do that. There's so much alliteration we can do with him.
Oh God,
He seems like a good sport too, from stuff I've seen him in.
He does.
I just saw the picture you shared of the yellow makeup. Oh my God.
You see? Yeah,
Yes.
it stands out as being very, very yellow.
He's more yellow than Data in Star Trek Next Generation.
He is.
Exactly, yeah. And that's why it stood out to me the second time watching it. It was like, wait a minute, his makeup is so... and it looks cakey too, and I mean, I think all of that's very intentional too, is to give him that
it's like
monstrosity.
It's like Data got old and developed a patina.
Jaundice Data.
Oh my God, yes.
Liver failure. So I can't. But yeah, after seeing X Trilogy, though, Mia Goth is somebody, shout out, because I'm excited to see her in bigger and bigger projects and other roles. She's a standout.
We stand Mia Goth. Fantastic performer.
Knows how to...
Hopefully she's a good person.
Yes. We hope. We can only hope.
If we have to edit it in case she's not a good person, we disavow.
We just happen to be
all assholes.
Yes. Please don't be
watching
assholes,
you, Mia
people.
Goth.
But we
literally,
we are literally
watching her.
So, but yeah, that was Maxine. And that brings us to the end of the X Trilogy. Now, funny thing I did was reading some stuff regarding this.
Mhm.
And it has been floated, I guess because it's a Ty West film, it has floated the idea of creating more within this universe, which I'm a little bit on the fence about, because do we really need that? Or is that just trendy right now to build up universes? Whereas
I
the X trilogy to me feels so like,
It's complete.
exactly,
We
yeah.
don't need more.
We don't
Please,
need more.
Detective West
Ty
survives, and
West.
we get her, or Detective Williams survives, and we get her and her awesome eye patch.
Yeah.
Ty West, if you're listening, if you're watching, first off, thank you. Please subscribe
Yes.
or follow, whatever, right? But two, please don't do that. Your trilogy is just fine.
Masterful. It's
It doesn't need
masterful.
anything more. You don't need to add to it. Do the right thing. Leave it alone.
But we'd love to
It's
see a
good.
different set of films or even trilogy in a different world. You are
Yeah.
masterful.
Show us new stuff. Show
Yes.
us new stuff. Give us more themes and whatnot that we can grasp onto and talk at length about.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yes.
Leave this world alone.
Yeah. This
It's
story feels
fine.
so complete that I'm like, why would you make any more?
Yeah.
Like, I don't. It
Don't
doesn't
listen to
need any more.
studios.
Yeah.
Studios will
Ignore the
say we need
studios.
more because it makes money. Don't
Yeah.
listen to them.
No.
Tell them no, and if they decide to go forward with a project like that anyway, you come out and you say, "I'm not part of this. I chose not to do this. They're choosing to go forward with it anyway.
Hmm.
Trust me.
And
Don't do it."
I'm going to take an aside here to say the other thing that's truly refreshing about this trilogy is it's original.
Mhm.
It's not a reboot. It's not a remake. It's not a sequel. It is something I feel like we don't see nearly as much as I would like to anymore in film, which is, you know, a story over three films or three stories, but that are truly, well and truly original. They draw inspiration from all over the places, but this isn't based off anything. We're not retelling something. More emphasis on we're not rebooting something, because I don't mind basing new stories off of prior books or whatever. Or I don't even entirely mind, like, considering, like, if you go to like a story, like a movie that was maybe from like way way back ago, like I Am Legend. Well, technically The Last Man on Earth was actually that same story. It's just they're separated by decades, so they're so distinctly different at films. I don't mind that, but this whole obsession with remake, reboot, or make sequels. Look, I'm going to accept that Spaceballs is getting a sequel, but that trailer was everything I love about Mel Brooks films.
I do.
And
It's the
such,
search for more money.
and it's a Mel Brooks thing. One, he cited Spaceballs 2 in the first one,
search
so
for
that was
more
all
money.
the search for more money. Also, it is very on brand for Mel Brooks to make fun of all the reboots and sequels by making a sequel 30 some odd years later. That is
Yeah.
literally on brand, Brooks, and I love that about him.
I did find it a little funny they left off the animated series that was like on Spike or something.
They did,
Well,
but
you
most
know.
people might, a lot of people might not know about it. It pointed out the what we've gotten in the meantime that people do know, which when you see it all quantified that way, just literally blew my mind. Like, we've gotten this many things, this many Star Wars things, this many things. We've gotten 37 Marvel films, and at this point, I'm just like, I'm dying, I'm dying. So, but refreshing about the X trilogy is just how original it has been.
That and Sinners. Good God.
I gotta see Sinners.
That's
So
I gotta
refreshing.
see Sinners.
That's on my watch list. So, well then, now that we've come,
y'all gotta watch Sinners. That movie is prime beef, awesome.
my friend and I are planning to do a watch
amazing
night of
film.
that. So no worries. That's literally on the plans, on the plans. But anyways,
stuff.
now that we have now covered the X trilogy, we did not think we were gonna have it become a two-parter, but I love that we had so much to say about it as we dove through this bit by bit by bit. In the meantime, though, Dave, where can our Voidwalkers find you?
Ah, wonderful. Y'all can find me at twitch.tv/sheriff_Flynn. I have been doing a little bit of miscellaneous things, but I'm getting back onto the Pathfinder game again. So you'll see a little bit of that. I'm also on YouTube, Sheriff Flynn, all one word. That's three F's. Um, and I upload stuff from Twitch onto there, for the most part. How about you, Liz?
So I am on Twitch. There's Lady Hyacinth 57. That's numbers 57, and Hyacinth as in the flower, but no, not from Bridgerton. I used Hyacinth before Bridgerton was a thing. I don't know why it's become my new disclaimer, but my name has nothing to do with Bridgerton.
We have to
but
cover Bridgerton at some point now. You know that, right?
You know what? That would be hilarious to cover that. Actually,
Put it on the docket.
yes. And now for something completely different. Bridgerton. Well, okay, that aside, but yep, Lady Hyacinth 57 on Twitch. I am also on YouTube under the same name, Lady Hyacinth 57, but not really active yet. I'm just migrating Twitch content over to there, so keep an eye out because I will start putting more stuff there actively. But right now, I'm just catching up on years of content and highlight videos I have over on Twitch. Been lately delving back into a replay of Song of Horror because it had been several years since I played that. And then in between that, doing a little bit of Blasphemous. Blasphemous
Russian
is so
man.
fucking hard, and I die so
I'm-
much. So I feel like I have to do
It's
it bits at a
fine.
time because it's otherwise I'm gonna get too frustrated with it. But it is kind of hilarious.
It's a learning curve / experience.
That
It really
poor
is. It
Russian
also does not
groundskeeper
help.
in song.
It really does not help that the A button on my controller keeps sticking. That's not a good thing playing Blasphemous. Because that's
No.
my jump key, and I swear, at first it was giving me problems in Song of Horror, but it's been giving me more problems in Blasphemous. I think because the way I just have to, like, hit the buttons so much more, so it's sort of comical. But most of the time I am playing Resident Evil games or others. I've kind of just been bouncing around a little bit, so I don't know, we're being exploratory here. Song of Horror is taking long enough because I decided to play it on the hardest mode possible, which means I had to replay the first chapter 4 times to beat it. Because and mind y'all, if you've never played Song of Horror, choices matter, and if your character dies, if you're playing anything higher than standard difficulty, if your character dies, they stay dead. So you have to restart the whole chapter if all of your character options die. I had to restart that chapter 4 times.
E,
4
where can they
times I
find you?
killed all 4 characters.
That
Wow.
poor Russian groundskeeper. You just yeet right
Went
out
out like
the
a
window.
punk. Yep.
Whoop-de-doo, I'm gonna climb on the roof. Whoops, here I go to the ground.
E, where can our Voidwalkers find you?
Oh, folks, you can find me over at Twitch and YouTube both under the username Lanzalencia, LANZALENTZIA. VODs go up on the YouTube. The original streams are up on the Twitch. Right about now, I'll probably be done with it by the time this episode goes up. At least I'm hoping I am, given when the second run releases. But I'm doing a series of streams of my second run through Death Stranding, the Hideo Kojima delivery game, where you also throw
UPS
bodily
guy.
fluids at ghosts. The good news is I've upgraded from the point where I'm no longer throwing poop and piss at ghosts, and now I'm throwing my own blood at ghosts. So progress. I have a
Death
little,
Stranding. What a game.
I have a little utility pouch that has like 4 bags of blood in it that are Norman Reedus blood.
Wow,
Fun.
that's
Very
amazing.
fun.
Folks, if you're listening to the audio version and not watching the video, the face Liz is making is really funny with this.
What, my face that's like, okay, throwing bodily fluids at people.
No.
Interesting.
I mean, well, is a ghost still a person?
That's a great
That's a good
question, and I'm glad
philosophical
you asked it.
question.
Especially when they're an antimatter ghost,
Um,
where if they touch you, it sets off basically a nuclear explosion that destroys entire swaths of the game.
I'm gonna stay away from those ghosts. I mean, I know I ain't afraid of no ghosts. No, I'm afraid of those ghosts.
I gotta deliver this old guy's medicine to him, Liz. I gotta go past the ghosts. He's got a pacemaker.
Nope. Nope to the ghosts. The pacemaker dude can just fend for himself.
But then he'll become a ghost.
As long as he stays over there.
He is up on a mountain that's
And
a
that's-
pain in the ass to get through.
And that's
See?
our healthcare system.
This game was
about
pre-COVID,
broke
by the
me
way,
now.
folks.
Y'all are breaking.
All
me.
right.
I love how we've completely lost the plot at the end of this episode.
We always
Yep.
lose the plot.
Sometimes a little more so. So that's the end. And we are the Confabulators. I'm Dave.
I'm Liz. And shout out to our amazing editor, E.
Thank you very much.
And if you need to know what confabulator means, I would say ask your local adult film performer, but I would probably caution against that lest they give you some keys.
Yeah. Oh, but wait, how can our fans reach us?
Oh yes.
Yeah. So
Lest I forget.
if you have
any
questions-
questions,
questions,
comments,
concerns,
yeah,
maybe depends
uh,
on the concern. We are not medical professionals here.
yes. You can ask us for medical advice, but we are not licensed and we will not give you anything.
Our answer will probably be go to a doctor.
Yeah. But you can email us at theconfabulators@gmail.com. We always look forward to seeing any kind of comments or questions or anything like that. Stuff that we can bring up on the podcast to respond with.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a caveat on that says if it's something that particularly rude or otherwise unacceptable in our eyes, we will not do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Don't be a
also,
dick.
please don't be a dick. Don't forget to respond down below if you're watching the video version, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. If you're listening to this through Spotify or iTunes / Apple Podcasts or any others, leave us a review. Give us 5 stars if you like it. Don't leave anything if you don't like it. No, be honest. Leave us whatever you feel like is appropriate in your opinion. It helps us shape and improve the show.
Yep.
Um,
And also give us a follow on Twitch at
The Confabulation Station.
the Confabulation Station on Twitch. We do occasionally do some lives. So, fun things. Our first and only one so far was watching and responding to Resident Evil Requiem's trailer. So, but we will be doing more live also on Twitch, so you can give us a follow there.
Yep.
In the meantime, folks, we are the Confabulators, and we shall see you all next time.
Stay safe in the void.
Take care. And hey, if you're a starting streamer on Twitch, turn on your VOD saving. Learn from my mistakes.
Learning, what is that? How does that work? Why am I holding my glass up? There's nothing in it.
It was poignant.
We're so weird.
But that's why people will love us. Please love us.
Okay, we better sign this out before it gets too awkward. Peace out, folks. The Confabulators is hosted by Dave Bockenkamp and Liz Strauss. Editor is E.W. Klein. Theme music, Oh Heavens, is by Cassidy B., composer and artist. Found at cbrva.cardd.co.